The emperor listened intently to the words of his ancestor, his voice stern and filled with curiosity. Their god's decree to safeguard the hero of darkness was something he could not even fathom in his wildest dreams, as they were enemies to this day after the events of 300 years ago. But why spare the hero of darkness? What purpose does it serve? How can a single hero affect the changed timeline? He questioned the purpose of sparing the hero of darkness and how a single individual could have such an impact on the altered timeline. The emperor sought to understand the significance and reasoning behind this decision. Our God has informed me that it was the hero of darkness from the future who killed the hero of time, and our God wishes to protect him in the altered one instead. As for the reason, the answers lie in the intricate tapestry of destiny. Our God sees something within this individual, something that may tip the scales in the grand scheme of things. The remnant soul conveyed the gravity of the situation, emphasizing that the survival of their empire depended on the outcome. It is detrimental for our survival whether our hero or the hero of darkness completes the task. We now have reasons to betray other gods and empires, and the hero of darkness will be present during the conclave of heroes. And thus, if our hero and his party also meet him in that place, order them to assist in hero of darkness and ensure his survival. Decreed the remnant soul. To this command, the emperor asked in a gloomy tone, "But what about our God and his previous commands? What caused him to shift his previous goals so suddenly? I fail to understand why he would go to such great lengths," stated the emperor. To his justified query, the glowing remnant soul responded kindly. He has decreed that he no longer cares who kills the demon god, as he will not cease to exist even if no hero/heroine succeeded. But he wishes for our survival. So having two heroes sharing our interests is more than enough for him and for us. The remnant soul shed light on the truth. Emperor gave an understanding nod. Although the objectives deviated from the past, the fact that their god chose to make such an altruistic decision for their survival was more than enough to agree with this divine decree. However, his expression suddenly turned gloomy as he spoke. "But we don't know how to track hero of darkness. The artifacts we had from the Abyss Empire were given to him in that hunting group." To this, the ancestral soul remnant lightly chuckled and replied, "But we do have a way. Our God just told me about a certain somebody helping the hero of darkness from the shadows. Someone no one has been able to know of. And the very reason why no one has found the hero of darkness in the past 3 years," revealed the remnant soul. Their God did not just send an ambiguous instruction but also provided aid for them to act effectively and immediately. "Who?" With a calm tone, the ancestral specter then told the current emperor about the identity of that being. "Impossible! How can he be related to the hero of darkness?" "He has no reason to," said the emperor, unable to digest the revelation. "It is of no concern to us. We need not care about what agenda he had or what reason caused him to protect this hero. However, it is imperative that we must join hands with him if we wish to succeed anyway," spoke the remnant soul in an adamant voice. The remnant soul's response was resolute and unwavering. He acknowledged that the motives and reasons behind the said person protecting the hero of darkness were not their concern. What truly mattered was the necessity of forming an alliance with him if they were to achieve success in their endeavors. The emperor himself did not dare to rebuke, since the remnant soul's adamant voice left no room for doubt or hesitation. It emphasized the critical nature of their decision and underscored the importance of setting aside personal reservations or preconceptions in order to forge a cooperative alliance with the person aiding hero of darkness. This being had successfully evaded the suspicion of the entire world, and no one in their wildest dreams would imagine him being the supporter of the very chosen hero who was on the world's most wanted list. Yet somehow, this individual had managed to stall their search for the hero of darkness using means unknown, and hence, no one had succeeded even now. This alone was a testament to how powerful and farsighted this person was, and how it would only be a wiser choice to join forces with them after their God's divine decree. "Then I shall contact him through our emissary placed at the border of the demon empire," replied the emperor in a compliant tone and bowed again. "And I will make sure that no one else even finds our connection to him before the conclave of heroes starts this month." spoke the emperor with a resolute countenance. The emperor contemplated the magnitude of the task before him. With a sense of duty, he acknowledged the necessity to redirect his resources and the loyalty of his hero and their party. While the rest of the gods and empires wished to hunt the hero of darkness for his divine key, the same as their own previously wished to, the fate of the altered timeline now rested upon their actions. And even if it means garnering the enmity of other empires or even risking a war had they been exposed at the wrong time, the emperor was willing to risk it for the survival of his people which he was responsible to protect. "Good, bring me," spoke this ancestral remnant soul with a great sense of foreboding as the fate of not only their empire but the world itself dangled on a thin thread. Argos Belmont. Meanwhile, as night fell, an enigmatic scene unraveled in a war-trodden battlefield. A magnificent black palace, its architecture spanning multiple floors, dominated the landscape. At its epicenter, a towering structure rose above all else, adorned with ancient spherical formations that spanned an astonishing 2 kilometers in width alone. This awe-inspiring edifice stood majestically on the other side of a grand canyon, an unexpected presence that seemed almost haphazardly placed beyond the border. What distinguished this palace from any other was its extraordinary suspension, defying the laws of gravity as it hovered a staggering 100 meters above the ground. At the very top of the tallest tower was an ominous chamber brimmed with dark magic, its ambience filled with an air of foreboding. Within the depths of this otherworldly hall, an enchanting spectacle unfolded. Thousands of fragmented mirror shards floated in perfect harmony, gradually coalescing into an orderly formation to unveil a screen that spanned an impressive 5 meters in width. And then, as if guided by an unseen force, the surface of the mirror shifted, revealing the fiery countenance of a figure unlike any other. An imposing figure of a crimson wolfkin stood tall, towering at a height of 3 meters. His intense gaze was accentuated by fiery eyebrows, while his flowing mane resembled a cascading stream. The saint's fiery gaze penetrated through the screen, seemingly reaching out to each observer in the hall of this black palace. His presence emanated a palpable energy, a raw power that crackled in the air. "Why did you suddenly contact me out of nowhere, Romulus?" asked a tall and handsome figure with silver-colored waist-length hair as his eyes glowed red. This figure in black and green ancient rank armor was a being that even the emperors and empresses of various empires admired and feared at the same time. As the figure spoke, his voice resonated with a deep, resonant timbre, echoing within the confines of the hall. From the other side of the screen, Romulus Lycaeus, renowned as the heavenly king of fire, reached out to Argos Belmont, the formidable vampire king also known as the Revenant Sovereign. Being one of the mightiest individuals in the world of Vantria, Argos stood tall, his dark presence casting an imposing shadow across the hall. Their connection was no ordinary communication, for it was facilitated by an ancient artifact known as the Mirror of Fate. This mystic tool granted access to unprecedented meetings, allowing the Fenribrone tribe leader to beseech an audience with Argos from more than 300,000 kilometers away. The urgency in his gaze spoke volumes, as if a dire shift in events had transpired, pushing him to act hastily. "Things went south here. When are you coming?" asked Romulus with an incredulous countenance. "How amusing. Things aren't good on my end either. The demon emperor almost killed one of the sovereigns yesterday," replied Argos, the 9th stage saint with an exasperated tone as if he was having a headache. "And now I'm stationed at the front using my castle as a frontline warning to deter them from attacking again until the situation becomes stable. We're lucky that the demon god has entered seclusion. Otherwise, at least 2 of the sovereigns would have died yesterday's battle if he were present." He revealed the direness of the situation that seemed as important as the one Romulus was to talk of. "Well, you didn't contact me because you like me. So what happened?" he asked while taking a seat on his black and golden throne. Romulus then told Argos everything about what happened during the tribal tourney, about how Khan as Atrus Bellator won and became the champion. But the Empress Kali rewarded Khan by making him a member of Hero of Nature's party. "Are you out of your goddamn mind?" yelled Argos, thoroughly outraged. "I told you to train the boy, not send him to partake in a tournament that is simply but a suicidal death match," he bellowed in visible fury. However, Romulus simply yawned, disregarding Argo's infuriated expression, and replied carefreely, "No great warrior was ever forged under the illusion of having time, safety, and leisure. If he didn't feel a sense of threat to his life and a metaphorical clock ticking in his mind during every waking moment, he wouldn't have been able to even learn half of what I taught him within a year," proclaimed the Heavenly King in an unapologetic tone as he folded his broad and muscular arms. "You sent him to me, and I have done what was necessary as his master. I would not accept any complaints about it. And now, all that remains is his strength and rank rising. He will need time to consolidate and evolve his skills as years go by. As for his potential, I'm afraid we have created a monster who might as well topple empires in the near future after he becomes an 8th stage saint," stated Romulus without a shred of hesitation despite making such a grand and controversial claim. The "we" he referred to was himself and Rathnar as per Argo's assumption. Yet, Romulus did not inform him about the other mentor called Vildred Mortalix. On top of that, he has 2 divine keys. You know what will happen when he enters that place during the conclave. He spoke and gazed back at Argos through the mirror. The Revenant Sovereign, on the other hand, revealed a gloomy face as he spoke. "Damn it! Only if I could take him to those ancient ruins and awaken his divine key. But that would take weeks even for me to reach there. And without an awakened divine key, he can't use it even if he enters the sacred site." A grim atmosphere ensued on both ends. "Looks like fate is mocking us. The Empress pulled her moves that were out of my predictions, and now Khan has to go where you were planning to take him anyway, just under the disguise as a member of the Hero of Nature's party. But at the same time, his divine key is practically useless to him despite going to the place he was destined to. Meanwhile, you can't leave your position because of the war with the Demon Empire. The things we need the most are completely out of our control," said Romulus in a somber voice. "And I have no other choice but to send him as a member of Hero's party. Either that, or we risk his identity being revealed to the Empress." His voice turned heavy, and in that fleeting moment, as the weight of their respective responsibilities settled upon their shoulders, both formidable saints found solace in accepting the grim reality before them. Like most men who had witnessed their world crumble in an instant, yet had found the strength to confront it, they stood as one, their voices melding into a harmonious chorus as they spoke in unison. "It is what it is." The sun rose on a new day, casting its warm rays upon the council hall of the Fenrirborn tribe, where Romulus Lycaeus, the heavenly king of fire, and Khan in his Atrus persona, the recently inducted member of the Hero of Nature's party, found themselves entangled in a precarious situation. The weight of their shared predicament hung heavily in the air as they engaged in a conversation fraught with tension. The revelation of Atrus' true background as a mixed blood, born of Fenrirborn and Basilisk lineage, a fictional narrative carefully crafted by Romulus during the Elysium tribal tourney, had caused a seismic upheaval in both their lives. The ramifications rippled through the tribe, setting off a wave of unease and uncertainty. For centuries, the Fenrirborn tribe and the Basilisk tribe had been bitter rivals, their enmity deeply rooted in the ancient conflict between the god-beast Fenrir and the god-beast Basilisk, transcending generations and eras. Unlike dragons, basilisks had no other natural adversaries, yet the descendants of Fenrir instilled a sense of unease and perceived threat within them. The long-standing animosity between the tribes had kept them at odds, never allowing them to find common ground. And now, with the revelation of Khan's true parentage as the supposed son of 2 deserters, a betrayal of their respective tribes, as they had defected and allied themselves with the shadow disciple of the opposing tribe, mingling with the enemy, the situation had become intolerable. After the tourney ended and the official procedure to make Atrus enlist as a member of the Hero of Nature's party began, the way others treated Atrus changed as well. As the tribe council clan leaders and elders cast their scornful gazes upon Atrus, the air in the council hall grew heavy with disdain and hatred. Once regarded as a precious gem by the tribe council, a potential successor and future leader of the Fenrirborn tribe, Atrus now found himself shunned by those who had previously showered him with praise and support. The reason for this sudden shift in their perception was painfully straightforward. Atrus stood as an anomaly, a living embodiment of the shame and betrayal that had befallen their tribe. His very existence carried the stain of his parentage, a connection to the despised basilisk tribe that had been the object of their animosity for centuries. The Fenrirborn tribe, steeped in their ancient traditions and bitter rivalry with the basilisk tribe, saw Atrus as a living reminder of their past grievances. The blood that flowed through his veins bore the traces of the very enemy they had despised for generations. To them, he was an embodiment of impurity, a constant reminder of the betrayal that had tarnished their honor. Even the other 4 disciples of Romulus, who had once stood by Atrus's side as comrades and allies, now distanced themselves from him. They, too, felt the weight of society's disdain and chose to shield themselves from the perceived impurity that ran through his veins. Their actions spoke volumes, as they refrained from even touching him, fearing contamination by his tainted lineage. Atrus stood alone in the face of this collective rejection, the weight of his mixed heritage pressing heavily upon his shoulders. "All of you may leave," commanded Romulus as the clan leaders, elders, and his disciples left the Grand Council Hall. Under an isolation barrier, the Heavenly King of Fire and the champion of Elysium tribal tourney began their private conversation. "Just 2 days ago, they were cheering for me when I won the tourney, and now they look at me as if I'm the embodiment of an incurable disease," said Atrus. "Well, it is better this way. I foresaw this when I created that fake background story for you. But my plan included you secretly disappearing when the time came. However, even I could not predict that damn Empress making you a member of the Heroes' Party. And I believe she has ulterior motives as well," spoke Romulus with an incredulous expression. "What kind of motives do you mean?" queried Khan. "On the surface, she does not like you very much. But even she can't deny that someone with both Fenrir and Basilisk bloodlines would definitely become a powerful figure in the future of the Empire. Not just her, but even the other heavenly kings are aware of this," explained the Crimson Wolfkin. "Although she can't publicly have ties with you in any way, by making you a member of Hero of Nature's Party, she can monitor you," proclaimed Romulus. "She could have granted you any reward but chose to make you join the Heroes' Party as the first step of her schemes. Her real plans will start after you officially become a member. After joining the Heroes' Party, you will no longer be a member of Fenrirborn tribe, and I assume the council members will soon create a ruckus to have you cast out from the tribe as well. With that, I will no longer have any justification to support you or meddle in to solve your troubles. You will be on your own from now on," said Romulus with a dejected face and clenched his fists very hard, barely containing his rage. "However, it's okay," replied Khan confidently. This response took Romulus aback, anticipating an answer. "We were going to part ways at some point anyways. In case you haven't noticed, Master, but I'm damn good at surviving on my own. On top of it, I have him with me." He spoke, and suddenly, a scholarly figure appeared out of a dimensional crack behind Khan. "The boy is right. This was supposed to be our temporary stop anyway. In a sense, we overstayed our welcome for a year," spoke Vildred, the sage of preservation, and let out a light smile. "Besides, do you not trust your disciple and what you've taught him so far?" he asked with a grin. As the weight of worry for his disciple began to lift, Romulus experienced a sudden jolt of realization. How could he have forgotten the true identity of Consalvator? He was not just a mere warrior or a member of the Fenrirborn tribe. No, Khan was something far more formidable, the goddamn hero of darkness and the apostle of the war deity. But that wasn't all. Khan's illustrious resume continued to extend. He was also the mentee of the fearsome apostle of slaughter and the sage of preservation who once held the prestigious title of the former dragon emperor. He had come to know Vildred's true identity very recently after they willing told Romulus. So now, he was even more confident. The sheer magnitude of Khan's current abilities and potential surpassed even their own. Despite the current unfavorable circumstances and the Empress' animosity towards Atrus, Romulus understood that it didn't change the undeniable truth. Khan was a force to be reckoned with, someone who demanded utmost caution. Romulus realized that fearing for Khan's safety was pointless. Rather, he should show sympathy towards those who willingly chose to stand against him. "All right, you made your point," spoke Romulus and nodded at Vildred. "As for your next move, Khan, I need to tell you something." He spoke in a serious tone. "You must go to the conclave of heroes no matter what," he stated with a commanding voice. "If you do not do so or miss it for any reason," spoke the heavenly king of fire with a bated breath as he revealed the cause of his warning, "you will die." 2 weeks had passed since the tumultuous events that had unfolded within the Fenrirborn tribe. In the capital city of Tenochtitlan, the heart of the Nader Empire, all eyes were fixed on the Grand Imperial Palace, a sprawling complex that served as a symbol of sovereignty and strength. Within its 10-kilometer expanse lay castles, imperial department halls, and the renowned Hall of Justice, each structure representing a pillar of the empire's power. Unlike other empires, the Nader Empire did not follow a hereditary succession system. Instead, their emperors and empresses were determined through a trial by combat, where challengers fought to the death for the throne. This unique approach ensured that only the strongest and most capable individuals ascended to the position of ruler. Given the significance of the imperial palace, many vital institutions and offices were strategically located in its vicinity. This arrangement facilitated the swift gathering of thousands of people who came for various purposes, be it conducting important affairs of the empire or seeking an audience with the empress herself. The close proximity of these institutions to the palace created an efficient system that allowed the empress to convene meetings with key figureheads from different departments with ease. However, on this particular day, the atmosphere within the imperial palace was charged with anticipation. Within the grand hall of a golden castle, adorned with banners bearing the insignia of the imperial guard, a select few had gathered for a momentous occasion, the coronation ceremony. This solemn event, held at the very heart of the palace, was reserved for those who held positions of utmost importance within the empire. Within the hallowed halls of the imperial palace, a momentous ritual unfolded. The empress, accompanied by the 4 heavenly kings, presided over a ceremony where Atrus, the newly appointed member of the Hero of Nature's party, would take an oath of allegiance before these formidable powerhouses. Standing before an ornate altar, Atrus cast his gaze to his right, taking in the sight of his fellow party members. Apart from Maximus Gladius and a certain Tigerkin, most of them were unfamiliar faces to him. It was a gathering of individuals united by a common purpose, bound by the calling to fight against the demon god. A priest, whose appearance resembled that of a white-feathered peacock, a clear indication of their lineage as descendants of the god-beast Rock, stepped forward. His voice carried a solemn authority as he began to speak, guiding Atrus through the oath. "I, Atrus Bellator, shall place the interests of the empire above all else. I pledge my unwavering servitude to the cause of combating the war against the demon god, as a dedicated member of the hero's party." The priest cited with unwavering conviction. Khan, in his Atrus persona as a towering 3-meter-tall ice and water elemental wolfkin, echoed the words of the oath after citing the priest's exact words. As the priest intoned the final incantations, a mystical golden and emerald pentagonal formation materialized in the air, gradually descending upon Khan and imprinting itself upon his chest and head. This sacred symbol, known as the Mark of Servitude, was a legendary rank seal that adorned all members of the hero's party upon their official induction. It signified the acknowledgement and formalization of their position within the party by the authorities. However, Romulus had confided in Khan a few days prior, revealing a darker truth behind this revered mark. It was not only a symbol of servitude but also a slave mark, designed to track the whereabouts and monitor the mental state of its bearer. The imperial authorities held the power to supervise the behavior of party members, and in extreme circumstances, they could mete out capital punishment. In simple words, it was like a bomb placed in your chest and brain with the imperial authorities holding the kill switch. "It is done," spoke Vildred from the true dimension. Khan was not one to willingly submit to a slave contract, especially when he had a master of magic like Vildred by his side. "Vildred," a 2,000-year-old royal dragon who had attained the rank of sage, possessed unparalleled mastery and profound knowledge of magic spells and formations. Among the vast empires of Vantria, he was counted as one of the world's 3 living sages. During the ritual, Vildred used his immense magical expertise to subtly manipulate the mark of servitude that had been imposed on Khan. While the mark would still appear to be imprinted on Khan's body and mind, its true effects were altered in a way that deceived the imperial authorities. The mark would give the illusion that Khan was compliant to their orders and showed no intentions of betraying the empire. This would pacify the authorities and give them a false sense of control. Furthermore, Vildred ensured that the tracking aspect of the mark could be severed at Khan's will. If the need arose for them to escape from the clutches of the empire, Khan had the power to sever the connection, rendering the authorities unable to track him and his companions. Most importantly, Vildred's manipulation of the mark ensured that it had no hold over Khan's life. Even if the imperial authorities attempted to activate the mark of servitude as a means to kill him, they would find themselves powerless. The mark, as modified by Vildred, would be rendered inert, leaving Khan unharmed and completely immune to its lethal effects. With Vildred's magic weaving its protective web, Khan now possessed a safeguard against the potential dangers imposed by the empire. The apparent compliance of the mark would grant them a semblance of safety while concealing their true intentions. They would remain one step ahead, their lives untethered by the control of the imperial authorities. As evening fell and the ceremonies of the day came to a close, Atrus made his way to the dedicated villa of the hero's party. This secluded abode served as a meeting place where the members would gather to discuss their priorities, strategies, and the protection of the empire's citizens in the name of their revered deity. Officially, this villa was a hub of activity, where important discussions took place and decisions were made. However, in reality, it was primarily a space for the members to gather and engage in casual conversations amongst themselves. The villa saw little use outside of their monthly meetings, and most of the members resided in their own estates within their respective clans and tribes. Their actual missions were relatively minor, involving the occasional monster subjugation to maintain a facade of bravery and justice, appeasing the public's expectations. The majority of their time was spent maintaining the appearance of heroism and fulfilling the public's perception of their role. However, due to the coronation of Khan, also known as Atrus, the members were summoned to the villa on this particular day. The significance of the event warranted their presence, gathering them together for a purpose beyond the usual mundane activities. As the members of the hero's party gathered in the villa, Atrus found himself face-to-face with his fellow comrades. Among them was Maximus Gladius, the current hero of nature, who greeted Atrus with a mix of surprise and acknowledgement. "It's good to see you again, Atrus. I didn't expect our paths to cross under these circumstances." Maximus spoke, his tone laced with a hint of genuine curiosity. Maximus held a favorable impression of Atrus, formed during their shared battle against the mythical rank monster known as Cheruf. In that encounter, they had engaged in deep conversations about morals and the reasons behind Maximus's unwavering dedication to protecting the lives of those who often failed to appreciate their sacrifices. Furthermore, during the Elysium tribal tourney, where all the members of the hero's party were present as spectators, they witnessed the remarkable display of Atrus's overwhelming power. His victories were ruthless and uncompromising, leaving an indelible mark on their memories. Particularly, the finale, where Atrus tore out Dahaka's head along with his spine, remained vivid in their minds. Despite Maximus's positive impression, many of the other members harbored doubts and reservations about Atrus. They questioned whether his brutal nature and unconventional methods made him more suited to be an executioner rather than someone who embodied the virtues of righteousness and justice that they strived to uphold. These misgivings were carefully concealed beneath polite exchanges and cordiality during the ceremony in front of others. However, now that they were gathered together, it was time for their true faces and opinions to come to light. Each member would have the opportunity to express their thoughts, concerns, and apprehensions about Atrus, forging the path for future interactions within the hero's party. "Oi, new guy, let me tell you something before you get all of your hopes up," spoke one of the members, a tall lion king with green mane and golden glowing eyes. This was one of the 6th-stage saints of the group. All you have to do is keep your head down and not make a mistake during the conclave of heroes. Don't talk, ask questions, or become a hindrance to us. Do you get that? His commanding voice resonated in the hall they entered. Ersh, who the hell starts a conversation like that? I just sat down, said Atrus after he casually sat down on a luxurious chair and gave a disregarding look towards this lionkin. Don't get me wrong, but unlike you losers, I'm not here by choice. I bet all of you feel prideful for being the member of the heroes party, while I feel like I'm in a cage. So no matter what happens, just know this, said Khan unhesitatingly and revealed his honest thoughts. We're not the same. After Atrus' blatant and disregarding words, an indescribable tension arose in the atmosphere. In his tone, it sounded as if Atrus was telling the rest of the members that they were nothing but fakes and didn't deserve to be compared with him as members of the party in any sense. System, give me their details, ordered Khan as he used the system after so many months. In the Hero of Nature's party, there were several members, each possessing unique species, classes, and appearances. Here is an introduction to the party members. 1. Vikat. Species: Tengu, rock descendant. Class: halberd warrior. This Tengu member has black feathers covering their body, with sharp, piercing eyes. They wield a long spear with deadly precision, showcasing their expertise in close combat. 2. Rolakin. Species: snakekin, basilisk descendant. Class: elemental mage. The gray snakekin mage possesses scales of a muted gray hue, with a serpentine tail extending from their lower body. He emanates an air of mysticism, their eyes filled with ancient wisdom as they command powerful arcane spells. 3. Pakawar. Species: Naga, serpent-like humanoid with multiple arms. Class: spearman. The Naga spearman stands tall and imposing, with a muscular physique and 4 powerful arms. Their scaly body glistens in shades of green and gold, and their mastery of the spear is evident in their every movement. 4. Zavalis. Species: bearkin, bear-like beastman. Class: battle-axe warrior. The silver bearkin warrior is a formidable sight, towering above others with their powerful build and imposing presence. Covered in thick silver fur, he wielded a massive battle-axe with ease, exuding strength and ferocity. 5. Borat. Species: lionkin, Baihu descendant. Class: knight. The lionkin knight possesses a regal aura, with a mane of vibrant green surrounding their head. Their golden fur radiates nobility and courage, and they don a suit of gleaming armor as a symbol of their dedication to protecting the innocent. 6. Svana. Species: feline-kin, Baihu descendant. Class: assassin. The bipedal cat assassin moves with agility and stealth, her lithe body and keen reflexes making her the perfect predator. With sleek fur and sharp claws, she can blend seamlessly into the shadows, ready to strike with deadly precision. Sieur Speki. Species: avian, rock descendant. Class: fire elemental summoner. This unique member resembles a red feathered peacock, with vibrant plumage adorning their body. They possess hands along with 2 wings emerging from their back, and they possess the ability to summon and control powerful fire elementals. 8. Conan Doikel. Species: tigerkin, Baihu descendant. Class: swordsman. The white tigerkin swordsman exudes an aura of grace and elegance. Their snowy white fur is complemented by piercing blue eyes, and they wield a finely crafted sword with precision and finesse. Reported the system about the hero's party member in one go. Khan remembered the last member very clearly. Conan Doikel, the individual responsible for the loss of countless lives, was also present among the party members. This member is the one Khan had previously encountered, rewarded with the title as the Sword of Salvation, famous for avenging the deaths of millions. But in reality, it was he who caused their death by attacking a mythical rank monster named Hodag. Despite his role in the tragedy, His expression betrayed fear, for he is well aware of the formidable strength and ferocity displayed by Atrus when they met last time. Atrus, feeling the weight of his circumstances and frustrated by the lack of true heroism in the hero's party, decided to be brutally honest with his companions. He addressed them with a firm and direct tone, making his opinions known. I'm not here by choice, and I don't have any time to play little mind games within this group. So, I'll be upfront with my opinion of this so-called hero's party. He spoke unhesitatingly. He looked around at his companions, his gaze piercing and unyielding. Other than the hero himself, I haven't seen or heard about any of you doing anything worthy of your title. Stop acting like you're all someone important. I know that every single one of you is just discarded pieces from your tribes and clans. Some of you are here solely because being part of this party is beneficial to your clans and tribes in terms of public image. He paused briefly, letting his words sink in before continuing. And from now on, when you speak to me, you will address me with respect. 1138. But the truth doesn't change the fact that you're all just poster boys for the most part. Most of you have never even truly fought for the sake of people or saved lives while risking your own. So, do not talk to me as if you're all standing on some high moral ground just because you joined before me. Atrus takes a moment to gather himself, his eyes narrowing as he assesses his companions. And from now on, when you speak to me, you will address me with respect. Never forget how I got here. The warning in Atrus' voice is clear, leaving no room for misunderstanding. He demanded respect and reminds them all of his own journey and the trials he has faced to reach this point. With his proclamation, he seeks to establish his own position within the group and make it clear that he will not be treated as anything less than an equal. Ha ha ha! Is this for real? One after another, all the members laughed at Khan. As Atrus's bold statements were met with laughter and disdain from the party members, tensions within the group rose furthermore. Displeased with his attitude, they expressed their dissatisfaction and gave a condescending look. One member spoke up, fueling the animosity. Has this trash gone mad? This bloody half-breed bastard is acting like he owns the place. Spoke Zavaliz, the Bearkin warrior. Another member eagerly joined in, eager for confrontation. Let's put him in his place. Who wants to go first? Said Speaky, the red peacock summoner. However, amidst the growing hostility, Maximus, a voice of reason, stepped forward, attempting to defuse the situation. This is not the time to fight amongst ourselves. Today's meeting was for deciding the strategy for the Conclave of Heroes and how we all fight as a team. That is more necessary than inner strifes. Maximus's intervention aims to remind the party of their greater purpose, urging them to focus on the impending challenges rather than engaging in internal conflicts. Nevertheless, his words were met with contemptuous looks, highlighting the disdain some party members hold for his attempt to prevent further escalation. I oppose this decision, Lord Hero, Borat, the sixth-stage Saint Lionkin declared. He has disgraced us and the sanctity of the hero's party by his remarks. No one with a shred of pride will accept this disrespect. The opposition to Maximus's plea for unity and his defense of Atrus's respect showed the deep division within the group. Their pride and honor had been wounded, further complicating the already strained dynamics within the hero's party. The underlying tension and lack of respect towards them by Atrus created a challenging dynamic within the group. On the other side, despite his title and the authority bestowed upon Maximus, the other party members harbored deep-seated prejudices due to his human lineage. This prejudice undermined his ability to effectively lead and command the group. Maximus, being aware of the contempt directed towards him, often found himself facing opposition and resistance whenever he made decisions or tried to assert his authority. His voice carried little weight, and his attempts to lead were met with skepticism and resistance from the others. The members of the party, driven by their own preconceived notions and biases, looked for opportunities to challenge Maximus's decisions indirectly. They found ways to circumvent his authority and assert their own agendas, often disregarding his leadership altogether. As tensions escalated within the hero's party, One member expressed the desire to test Atrus's fighting prowess and ensure their safety. Atrus, fueled by his own confidence, welcomed the challenge, eager to put his companions in their place. Besides, we should know the real fighting prowess of our new sidekick before he ends up risking our lives due to his weakness. Spoke Svanna, the feline assassin. All right then, it's better this way. I was raring to put you losers in your place anyways. Suddenly, Atrus' haughty and unapologetic voice resounded in the hall. The decision was made to engage in a training session within the villa, utilizing the training formations available. As they stepped into a pocket dimension filled with a forest and ancient ruins, tension hung in the air like debris. However, Maximus, observing the situation, voiced his opposition, recognizing the injustice towards the new member. Count me out. This seems nothing but bullying the new guy. He spoke with a dejected countenance. His refusal to participate highlighted his moral objection to the proposed confrontation. Nonetheless, the green-maned lionkin was undeterred, suggesting someone step forward to teach Atrus a lesson. So, who wants to teach this bastard a lesson first? Spoke Borat in a tyrannical voice. But before anyone else could respond, Atrus interjected, his tone dripping with arrogance. What do you mean, who? Looks like I didn't make myself clear. I'm going to fight. His wicked grin betrayed a sinister intention as he challenged his entire party, seemingly relishing the opportunity to prove his strength against them collectively. All of you together at once. Khan's bold challenge to the entire hero's party sent shockwaves through the room, leaving even Maximus, who had refrained from participating in the previous antagonism, stunned. The members of the party, each regarded as exceptional talents and sources of pride within their clans and tribes, found it difficult to comprehend how this newcomer could openly challenge their authority and display such audacious hubris. Borat, unable to contain his outrage, voiced his disbelief and anger at Khan's audacity. His words carried a mixture of shock and indignation, reflecting the sentiments shared by the rest of the hero's party members. The atmosphere in the pocket dimension grew tense as Khan's bold declaration hung in the air. The challenge he posed, to fight them all together, seemed nothing short of madness. The members exchanged glances, their faces a mix of incredulity and determination. They were not accustomed to having their authority questioned or facing open opposition, and Khan's words struck at the core of their pride and self-assurance. What the hell did you just say? Are you out of your goddamn mind, you bastard? Asked Borat. While they each possessed exceptional abilities and backgrounds that had earned them their esteemed positions, Khan's sudden appearance had shaken their assumptions of superiority. The notion that this newcomer believed he could take on the entire hero's party was a direct challenge to their individual prowess and the collective might they represented. The hostile atmosphere within the hero's party took a dark turn as the members contemplated the consequences of Atrus's challenge. Is this bastard on some suicide mission? Is he not afraid of death? Said Speaky. However, amidst the unsettling discussion, Awakens, the snakekin mage, presented a sinister suggestion, reveling in the opportunity to exploit Atrus's regenerative abilities. Ha ha ha, good for me. Although we don't have a healer in our group, I heard the Fenrirborn tribe members have great regenerative ability. We can't kill him since he's part of the group now, but it doesn't mean we can't rip apart his arms and legs. He will keep regenerating over time, and we will keep torturing him until he begs all of us for forgiveness. Spoke the mage with a sinister laugh. Awakens' sadistic proposal displayed a disturbing desire to inflict pain upon Atrus, taking advantage of his regenerative capabilities as a member of the Fenrirborn tribe. The suggestion hinted at a cruel intention to subject him to prolonged suffering, intending to break his spirit. The air grew heavier as the party members contemplated Awakens' idea, the group's unity fracturing even further. The conversation took a dark turn, leaving an ominous cloud hanging over their interactions and the impending battle that awaited them in the pocket dimension. As the tension in the hero's party reached its peak, Atrus grew increasingly exasperated with their empty words and lack of action. He folded his arms, displaying a bored expression, and called out their perceived shortcomings. Bah, are you guys only good at talking? It would have been useful if you guys spent this much time on training instead of bullshitting, remarked Atrus, giving a look of disdain towards the party members. His statement struck a nerve with Pakawar, the Naga spearman warrior, who had been harboring anger towards Atrus. That bastard! I'll give him a beating! His angry voice echoed around. The Naga warrior's face revealed his pent-up frustration, his desire for a confrontation with Atrus growing stronger. However, rather than backing down, Atrus embraced the challenge with mischievous glee. Hey, stop talking and fight me already. And fight me seriously. A mischievous grin played on Atrus's face, indicating his eagerness to engage in a genuine battle. He made it clear that he had no intention of going easy on any of his fellow party members, asserting his determination to prove his own strength and expose their weaknesses. Because I'm not intending to go easy on any of you posers either. Boom! Boom! As the tension escalated within the hero's party, a powerful energy permeated the surroundings, causing the ancient ruins to come alive. 8 distinct, vibrant auras emerged, each representing the unique abilities and strengths of the party members. The colored auras enveloped the vast expanse of the white ancient ruins, creating a mystical and awe-inspiring spectacle that stretched across a 15-kilometer radius. Conan, who had initially harbored fear towards Atrus, now found a newfound sense of confidence. The shared cause and the unity among his teammates emboldened him, allowing his own resentment towards Atrus to surface. Previously, Conan had hesitated to act upon his resentment, aware of his own limitations as a fourth-stage saint. However, with the collective power and support of his fellow party members, he felt a renewed sense of courage. "You brought this on yourself, you damn blue mutt," said Savannah as she took her daggers out. "Let's show this shithead who's he messing with. He wanted to face all of us together, right? Then let's show him what happens when a roadside garbage dared to hold their head up against people who belong to the top of food chain," declared Borat, and one after another, all of the spread up in mere moments. Swoon! Swoon! The very next moment, a massive pillar of emerald aura coming out of Borat, one of the 6th-stage saints of the group, quickly arose and spread on the ground. Crack! Rumble! Domain expansion! Nature's fury! Shouted the green-maned lionkin. As the emerald aura permeated the ground beneath them, an astonishing transformation occurred within the ancient ruins. Terraforming magic surged through the debris, causing the emergence of a mesmerizing sight. From the shattered remnants of the ruins, thousands of colossal vines, trees, and vibrant multicolored flowers sprouted forth. These towering flora, shrouded in a deep green hue, reached heights of hundreds of meters and spanned dozens of meters in width. I think you should take a look at. This wondrous and unnatural phenomenon was none other than Borat's domain. His mastery over nature and the ability to manipulate plant life manifested in this breathtaking display of power. The vines intertwined and coiled, creating a sprawling canopy that stretched above, while the colossal trees stood as sentinels of Borat's domain, their branches reaching towards the sky. The air became saturated with the scent of earth and vegetation, as the vibrant flowers bloomed, adorning the surroundings with a kaleidoscope of colors. The once desolate and crumbling ruins were transformed into a vibrant, living sanctuary, a testament to Borat's command over the natural forces. However, things didn't just end there. Rumble, tremble. As the sky above them darkened and the clouds multiplied, an ominous presence filled the air. In a matter of moments, the temperature in the vicinity plummeted to freezing levels, reaching 0 degrees within a mere 10 seconds. The sound of a frigid blizzard echoed through the surroundings, sending a shiver down Atrus' spine. This was the snow domain of Zavaliz, the silver bearkin battle-axe warrior and the second 6th-stage saint within the hero's party. Zavali's control over ice and snow was unparalleled, and his domain unleashed a powerful blizzard that could freeze millions of soldiers on a battlefield with its bone-chilling intensity. The howling winds and icy gusts carried the potential to incapacitate even a 3rd-stage saint within a mere 10 minutes of exposure. The party members, familiar with Zavali's blizzard domain, braced themselves against the biting cold and the onslaught of the blizzard's fury. Atrus, in particular, felt the frosty tendrils of the blizzard creeping towards him, a stark reminder of the dangers posed by his fellow party member. The clash of domains within the hero's party grew more apparent, as Borat's vibrant and verdant domain stood in contrast to Zavali's chilling snow domain. Damn it! Are they insane? At this rate, Atrus would sustain grave injuries. I should meddle in if things get serious, thought Maximus from afar. The tense atmosphere within the hero's party escalated as Atrus intentionally provoked the members with his challenging words. While Maximus wasn't inclined to initiate a fight with his own teammates solely based on words, Atrus's unyielding attitude and lack of consideration left him with little reason to defend or support such behavior. Complicating matters further was the law of the jungle, a prevalent ideology in the Nader Empire that governed their interactions. According to this law, defending one's honor and reputation was considered a valid cause for physical confrontation. Atrus's deliberate provocation had provided the members with a perceived justification to attack him, as they sought to defend their pride and maintain their standing within the hero's party. In the midst of this charged atmosphere, Maximus found himself torn between the desire to maintain unity within the party and the internal conflict caused by Atrus's provocative behavior. As a battle-hardened warrior, he understood the significance of honor and reputation, but he also recognized the importance of cohesion within their group. It was a delicate balance to strike, one that required careful consideration of the potential consequences. Boom! Boom! As tensions soared within the hero's party, Speaky, the red peacockkin and fire elemental summoner, took center stage. With a wave of his hand, he conjured massive fireballs, each resembling a destructive cannonball, and summoned hundreds of towering firebirds that resembled majestic phoenixes. The fiery creatures circled around him, radiating intense heat and power. In an impressive display of mastery over his domain, Speaky activated his powerful domain, known as the Assembly of Purified Flame. This domain intensified the heat and intensity of his fire-based attacks, adding another layer of danger to his already formidable power. Targeting Atrus, Speaky directed his arsenal of fireballs and commanding firebirds towards him. The fireballs, resembling blazing cannonballs, hurtled through the air with devastating force, while the firebirds soared overhead, their fiery plumage leaving trails of scorching embers in their wake. By logic, fire and blizzard should have canceled each other. But instead, they coexisted in a heterogeneous arrangement as one part was scorching hot while the other was freezing cold at the same time on different multitudes and directions. Under the combined pressure of Speaky's domain and the previous domains unleashed by Zavali's and Borat, Khan, in his Atrus persona, found himself constrained. The immense power and unified assault of the three domains created a formidable challenge that tested his resilience and ability to withstand the onslaught. As the battlefield became enveloped in a maelstrom of elemental forces, the clash of domains intensified. The air crackled with heat and energy, and the sheer power of the combined attacks threatened to consume everything in their path. And these were just 3 members. The rest 5 members were strategically located in different directions, ready to attack as part of their teamwork against enemies. Warning: the host is under the debuff effect of 3 different domains. All physical and magical stats are reduced by 30%. Warning: the host's senses and agility have been decreased by 40%. The system informed, warning Khan about his precarious situation. All right then, that should be enough for a warm-up, said Atrus carefully as he flexed his shoulders, cracked his neck and took the Goku warm-up posture. His gaze then landed on the party members that had spread afar dozens of kilometers in all directions. Yet, there was no hint of fear or worry on his face as he asked in an insidious voice, "Shall we get started?" The battle within the hero's party intensified as the 3 elemental domains, wood, ice, and fire, merged and converged upon Atrus, overwhelming him with their combined might. From the domain of wood, hundreds of towering trees and vines shot forth, resembling spears thrusting towards their target. The already established domain expanded its reach, seeking to ensnare and pierce Atrus with its vegetative assault. Alongside the trees, the colossal flowers radiated a blinding light, their petals creating a dazzling spectacle meant to disorient and confuse their opponent. Simultaneously, the domain of fire manifested through hundreds of raging phoenixes, their battle cries resonating across a vast expanse of 20 kilometers. These majestic creatures, fierce and relentless, unleashed their fiery attacks, aiming to engulf Atrus in a storm of scorching flames and searing heat. Adding to the onslaught, the domain of ice presented a chilling and formidable display. Hundreds of 10-meter-long icicles, shaped like deadly bullets, formed within the domain, each iceberg possessing the power to freeze entire towns into ice statues in an instant. These icy projectiles hurtled towards Atrus, their sharp points threatening to pierce and freeze him in place. The unified assault of the three domains showcased not only the individual power of each member but also their exceptional synergy as a team. Despite the different elements at play, none of the Saints' domains neutralized or diminished the efficacy of the others. Instead, they seamlessly combined their strengths, maximizing their collective might against their target. Good. They should be able to do this much in the past 8 years since this party was formed, said Atrus. Swoosh! As the battle raged on, an unexpected turn of events unfolded. Awakens, the mage of the hero's party, conjured a multicolored formation in the sky, creating a magic formation that further enhanced the combined effectiveness of the three elemental domains. Acting as the team's support character, Awakens utilized his magical abilities to buff the team's attack skills, amplifying their collective power. The formidable synergy of the three elemental domains, now augmented by Awakens' magical enhancements, unleashed a tyrannical and terrifying pressure. The sheer intensity of their combined efforts would have sent a normal 5th-stage Saint into a state of fear and distress, potentially causing them to tremble with terror and even pee their pants. However, what the others in the hero's party failed to realize was that Khan had been testing them all along. He had intentionally allowed them to activate their domains and unleash their attacks, giving them the false impression of gaining the upper hand and weakening him with their debuffs. Khan's true intentions were hidden beneath his composed demeanor. He wanted to observe the full extent of their abilities and test the unity and resilience of the hero's party. By waiting and enduring their onslaught, he could gauge their strengths and weaknesses, understanding how they operated as a team and whether they could maintain their cohesion under pressure. System, how much now? Asked Khan to his royal advisor. All stats have been suppressed by 45% and senses as well as agility is further decreased by 53%. The host is now comparable to a peak 3rd-stage Saint with the current stats. Reported the system. Nice. This is better than I thought, replied Khan, relishing in the further decrease in his strength. Shoot! As the combined forces of the hero's party converged upon him, Atrus stood steadfast, facing the onslaught of fireballs, vines, icicles, and lightning attacks. The air crackled with energy as the elements collided in a cataclysmic display of power. The massive fireballs hurtled towards him, trailing tongues of scorching flames. The vines, like living spears, sought to ensnare and pierce his defenses. The icicles, sharp and menacing, aimed to freeze and immobilize him. Above, the magic formation in the sky unleashed a barrage of lightning attacks, crackling with raw electricity. Bang! Bang! The battlefield was engulfed in chaos as massive explosions reverberated and shattered the sound barriers, their earth-shattering impact sending shockwaves rippling through the 3-kilometer radius. The rumbling of the sky matched the intensity of the explosions, and the blinding light that emanated from the epicenter forced everyone to squint their eyes against its brilliance. As the dust and flames gradually subsided, a solitary figure emerged from the remnants of the devastation. The figure stood in the epicenter, a haunting sight that sent shivers down the spines of those who bore witness. The humanoid figure's appearance was a grotesque spectacle. Its once majestic fur was all but gone, revealing a skeletal framework and mangled body parts. Bloodied internal organs spilled forth, and pulsating veins snaked across the exposed flesh. The absence of a jaw left a ghastly sight, exposing the inner workings of the figure's cranium. The right leg was entirely missing, adding to the overall image of mutilation and destruction. Despite the brutal injuries and the staggering display of resilience, it remained defiant, its beating heart pulsating behind the sternum and costal cartilage. This survivor bore the scars of battle, a testament to the harrowing trials endured during the clash. This ghastly sight terrified even Boret, Zavalis, and Speaky, the attackers, as they watched in disbelief. Squirm! Squirm! As the onlookers watched in astonishment, a miraculous transformation unfolded before their eyes. The veins within the battered body writhed and squirmed, reminiscent of snakes in motion. Broken and shattered bones began to elongate, weaving together with newfound strength and resilience. From the spinal cord and femur, new bones sprouted forth, rapidly regenerating at a visible rate that I think you should take a look at. In a matter of mere seconds, the missing bones and organs were fully restored, as if they had never been injured in the first place. The wounds healed, and a new layer of skin and fur grew, covering the once mutilated body. Atrus, in a display of extraordinary regenerative abilities, made a full recovery, emerging unscathed from the devastation. The scene was nothing short of soul-trembling. The power of rejuvenation and regeneration, inherent within Khan's Fenrir-born lineage, had mended his broken form with astonishing speed and efficiency. It was as if the very essence of life itself flowed through his veins, granting him the ability to transcend the limitations of mortal injury. This should be impossible. He regenerated 60% of his body despite our debuffs and his reduced stats in just 18 seconds. That's impossible even for a true descendant. Spoke Conan, who saw this from 15 kilometers as he was charging his attack skill while others attacked Atrus. Shing. But before anyone could even grasp this unbelievable sight, 3 fully developed domains and so many debuffs at the same time, and y'all still can't one-shot me, he stated while his blue eyes glowed like flashlight. You are just a disappointment. Khan's wrathful voice resounded and sent shivers to all the opponents. Even Maximus, who did not partake in this fight, was shocked beyond belief. Shame on me for setting the bar so high. I shouldn't have expected something from rejected losers like you who can't even become your clan or tribe's leaders, said Atrus, thoroughly infuriated. With his wounds fully healed and his body restored to its prime, Atrus stood tall and unwavering. The harrowing ordeal he had endured and his subsequent rapid recovery stood as a testament to his resilience, determination, and the incredible depths of his abilities. He just survived a combined attack of 3 domains, 2 of which were from 6-stage saints. The Khan of the past, with his limited training and experience, would have been utterly overwhelmed by such an assault. In those circumstances, he would have had no choice but to activate his Dracos armor and Azura mode simultaneously to even stand a chance of survival. However, after undergoing intense training under the guidance of Romulus, Vildred, and Rathnar for a year, Khan had grown exponentially in strength and skill. And the funny fact was that he was solely using the godbeast Fenrir's bloodline to face the brunt of that combined attack. He didn't use Basilisk or even Dragon Bloodline's defensive scales or armor. What no one also realized that Khan was already completely immune to fire and water/ice element. The only element that damaged him was the wood element, and that too because Khan actively chose to let himself get hit. An intriguing aspect that went unnoticed by the others was Khan's complete immunity to the fire and water/ice elements. His resilience against these forces was absolute, rendering them ineffective against him. The only element that seemed to cause him any damage was the wood element. However, what others failed to realize was that Khan deliberately allowed himself to be struck by the wood attacks, using it as an opportunity to gauge his physical capabilities and endurance in the face of different types of attacks. I'm deeply hurt to the point that I might start crying because of you people's incompetence, declared Khan, his gaze turning furious for the first time. Boom! Revealing his intense killing aura that spread and encapsulated the 30 kilometers radius in a few moments, Khan spoke in a domineering voice. Let me show you who is the alpha wolf of the pack. The hero's party members stood in awe, realizing the profound resilience and endurance displayed by Khan in the face of their collective attack. The fact that he, despite being suppressed and limited by the debuffs and his current stage, had not succumbed to their assault was nothing short of remarkable. While Khan's immunity to fire and water elements provided him with a degree of protection, The wood elemental attacks from a 6th-stage saint should have posed a significant threat, potentially proving fatal. Yet, even without invoking his defensive abilities or life-saving skills, Khan withstood their assault, defying their expectations. The members of the hero's party had intended to incapacitate him, perhaps even render him unconscious, but their collective attack failed to achieve its desired outcome. Khan, driven by his experiences and newfound resilience, proved unyielding in the face of their assault. Little did he know that the trials he had endured had not only forged his physical strength but also transformed his mental fortitude. Unbeknownst to Khan, his survival and countless experiences had rewired his brain and heightened his sensory functions to an extraordinary level. Even the most excruciating pain or torture, such as a hot iron rod poking his eyes, would fail to elicit the expected response from him. His threshold for physical suffering had been raised to an unparalleled degree, surpassing the limits of human endurance in history. The hero's party members were far from weak. They were bona fide saints, individuals of extraordinary talent and skill who possessed the power to vanquish millions of enemies single-handedly. Their accomplishments and abilities were a testament to their strength and prowess. However, unbeknownst to them, the current Khan had undergone a profound transformation, growing exponentially in power and capability. The trials he had endured, the training he had undergone under the guidance of his mentors, and the experiences he had faced had elevated him to a level of power that surpassed his previous self by a staggering magnitude. Little did Khan realize just how overwhelmingly powerful he had become. His subconscious utilization of the Space Force, combined with his dimensional shift ability, allowed him to keep his brain and heart within the true dimension, ensuring his safety and preventing true harm. Even if his entire physical body were to be turned to dust, he would remain unscathed, his consciousness intact. The disparity between Khan's current power and his perception of it led him to underestimate himself. He mistakenly believed that others could easily inflict harm upon him due to the reduction in his levels and stats. In reality, his strength far surpassed the limitations imposed by numerical values and statistics. It was this lack of awareness regarding his own immense power that allowed him to question the capabilities of the hero's party members, despite their formidable skills and talents. "All right, I don't have time for this. I will end this quickly," declared Atrus, and dark blue killing intent spread like wildfire and sent shivers to the enemies. Whoosh! With lightning speed, Atrus vanished from his previous location, his figure becoming a blur of motion. In the blink of an eye, he reappeared 17 kilometers away, within the confines of a room housed within a tower constructed from pristine white stones. Yet, his attention was not directed toward his immediate surroundings. Instead, his gaze fixed upon an empty space in the center of the room. With a surge of power and precision, Atrus's fist shot forward, piercing through the air at an astonishing speed. The force behind his punch was immense, as if he sought to strike an unseen adversary or release the built-up tension within him. The impact of his strike resonated throughout the room, the air crackling with energy. Even though his fist connected with nothing tangible, the sheer intensity and velocity of his motion hinted at the immense strength and agility he possessed. Boom! Crack! With a thunderous impact, the force of Atrus' strike resonated throughout the tower, shaking its very foundations. The sound echoed through the air, reverberating with a deafening roar that seemed to reach the heavens themselves. The sheer power of the impact sent shockwaves rippling through the structure, causing it to tremble violently. Cracks snaked their way along the walls, the floor quivered beneath their feet, and the ceiling groaned under the strain. As the vibrations intensified, the tower could no longer withstand the force unleashed within its confines. In a spectacular display of destruction, the tower crumbled under the weight of the explosion. Dust and debris filled the air, creating a haze that obscured the remnants of the once proud structure. The collapse was swift and decisive, reducing the tower to a heap of rubble on the ground. Thud! With incredible speed and force, a figure hurtled through the air, propelled like a cannonball. The velocity of their descent was astonishing as they closed the distance rapidly, closing in on a cluster of buildings that resembled a smithy. The impact was catastrophic as the figure crashed into the structures with immense force. The buildings it crashed against, unable to withstand the sudden assault, crumbled and collapsed under the weight of the collision. Dust and debris filled the air, creating a scene of destruction and chaos. The sound of crumbling stone and splintering would reverberated through the area as the force of the impact sent shockwaves rippling outward. The surrounding structures trembled and shuddered, unable to withstand the unleashed power. As the dust settled, the aftermath revealed a scene of devastation. Buildings lay in ruins, reduced to rubble and scattered debris. The area filled with smithy buildings was now a scene of destruction, its former structure a mere shadow of its former self. Blurg. Suddenly, this invisible figure materialized and this entity's true appearance was finally revealed. Ugh! My ribcage! This bastard wolf-kin! Shouted Svanna, the gray feline assassin of the hero's party who was a fourth-stage saint herself. Her chest was convoluted and 3 of her ribs were cracked from that punch. Swoosh! TCH! I know a guy who would have been so disappointed for an assassin of such high rank being found so quickly due to meager mastery of their own skills. Spoke Atrus aka Khan as he gave a look of disappointment towards this feline who was coughing up blood. How did Khan easily find a high-ranked assassin-class saint like her? I think you should take a look at. The answer was Khan's hunter domain. Khan's ability to easily locate a high-ranked assassin-class saint was attributed to his hunter domain, a formidable skill that spanned an impressive radius of 30 kilometers. This extraordinary domain was a fusion of several powerful abilities, including Earth Sense and Spiritual Sense. Earth Sense, a saint-rank skill, allowed Khan to sense everything within a 25-kilometer radius as long as he or his targets were in contact with the ground or any object attached to it. This heightened perception granted him an acute awareness of his surroundings and made it difficult for anyone to hide from him. The second ability, Spiritual Sense, enabled Khan to track all living beings within a 25-kilometer radius. By detecting their unique soul signatures, which influenced the surrounding mana and world energy, he could discern their presence even if they attempted to conceal themselves. In the past, when Khan acquired this merged ability after defeating Vilgax, a legendary rank hybrid monster in the Verlassen fiefdom of the Rocco's Empire, it was a formidable saint rank skill. However, through intense training and the utilization of his doppelgangers and his own physical body over the past year, the ability had evolved into a legendary rank skill, granting him 5 times keener senses to the point that even a saint assassin of the same rank couldn't mask their existence for even a second. As a result of his unwavering dedication and extensive training, Khan's hunter domain had reached unparalleled heights. It allowed him to track and locate the high-ranked assassin-class saint in a mere 2 seconds. "Go to sleep," spoke Atrus and clenched his fist. Bang! With a forceful and precise punch, shockwaves reverberated through the air, causing a tremor that spread over a radius of 1 kilometer. The impact was so powerful that it disrupted the surrounding settlement, sending debris flying and stirring up a cloud of dust that obscured the scene. As the dust settled, the true extent of the devastation became apparent. Amidst the scattered debris and remnants of the settlement, a sight that sent chills down the spines of onlookers was revealed. Svanna's head, buried deep in the ground upside down, emerged from the ruins. The sight was chilling and unsettling, a grim testament to the power and wrath unleashed by Khan's punch. The once formidable assassin, who had held a position of fear and respect in the party, now lay defeated and vanquished, her fate sealed beneath the earth. "Svanna!" shouted Rolakin, the snake-kin mage. Whoosh! Before Rolakin could even get out from the shock, Atrus' figure appeared in the sky, just 2 kilometers away. "No, he's coming for me next," thought the snake-kin, completely frightened. And without any hesitation, he quickly used a legendary rank artifact attached to his waist belt and cast a barrier instantly. This was the biggest life-saving artifact this mage possessed, to guarantee his safety in time of peril. "Ha! Suck it! Fenrirborn, this is a legendary rank barrier. You can't pass through it or break it even if you attacked me for an entire day," exclaimed Rolakin, with visible arrogance in his tone. "Is that so?" asked Atrus, and before the other party members could even intervene and assist the mage. Flash! Atrus' blue figure shot forward like a missile and crashed against the barrier. Bang! Rumble! An ear-deafening explosion occurred. Idiot! I told you, no one can gesture. But before the snakekin could even complete his sentence, a blurry figure appeared in front of him and grabbed both of his arms. Awakens screamed in unimaginable and agonizing pain as Atrus ripped apart both of his arms like a dried twig of a tree branch. Oi! Did you really think that some lame legendary rank magic barrier can stop me? Spoke Atrus in a grim voice, his eyes revealing a terrifying killing intent. Your impertinence insults my pride. Khan's ability to easily pass through Awakens' legendary rank barrier without apparent effort left everyone bewildered. However, what went unnoticed by those present was that it all happened in a mere second. Contrary to what one would assume, Khan did not employ brute force, nor did he shatter the legendary rank barrier. Unbeknownst to his new companions, Khan had unlocked a unique class known as the Scholar Saint Magician, one of the two magic classes he had recently invoked. This class, achieved through the entire past year of training, held special benefits that he had yet to reveal to others. The key aspect of this class lay in the term scholar, but in what area did Khan possess scholarly expertise? The answer resided within magic formations and barriers. With his newfound abilities as a Scholar Saint Magician, Khan possessed a deep understanding of magic formations and barriers. He possessed the knowledge and skill to manipulate them with precision and finesse. It was through his mastery of these intricate magical structures that he found a flaw or weakness in the legendary rank barrier. What Vildred imparted to Khan went beyond the mere casting of spells or the manipulation of elemental forces while training him to become a bona fide mage. It encompassed a profound understanding of the intricacies of magic as a whole, allowing Atrus to not only wield its power to cast elemental spells and barriers, but also discern, harness, and neutralize them effectively. Under Vildred's guidance, Khan learned to identify the vulnerable points and gaps in the flow of mana and world energy within a magic formation or barrier crafted by other mages, or even derived from enchanted artifacts. This knowledge was a revelation as most magicians, including those of the esteemed saint rank, remained oblivious to the fact that the magic formations and barriers they had spent years honing were not invincible. These formations and barriers were simply channels, mechanisms through which mana and world energy were directed in specific patterns to achieve desired effects. However, the truth remained that the manipulation of mana and world energy was not without consequences or limitations. The reality was that there were vulnerabilities, flaws, and exploitable weaknesses within the very foundations of these magic formations and barriers. These malleable entities could be altered at your will without any repercussions even if an enemy caster used them against you. When an individual cast a protection barrier, their focus was solely on fortifying their defense. In order to achieve this heightened level of defense, sacrifices had to be made in other areas, such as mobility and attack power. This strategic trade-off was necessary to create a specific circulation pattern of mana and world energy within the barrier, which effectively condensed these forces and bolstered its defensive capabilities. However, it's important to note that the very nature of this circulating pattern set the barrier apart from a stationary solid wall. Unlike a motionless structure that remained unchanged, the circulation of mana and world energy within the barrier was a dynamic process. This constant influx of energy rendered the barrier inherently volatile. The volatile nature of the barrier arose from the continuous interplay of mana and world energy, constantly shifting and adapting to maintain its defensive integrity. It was akin to a delicate balance, where the influx and utilization of energy were in a constant state of rebuilding and maintaining itself. Any disruption or interference in this intricate equilibrium could potentially destabilize the barrier, exposing its vulnerabilities. Thus, understanding of these dynamics allowed one to exploit the volatility inherent in the barrier structure by pinpointing and capitalizing on the momentary instabilities within the circulation pattern. And if someone with keen eyes and experience could track the small gaps in these circuits and pathways of mana and world energy, they could easily disrupt the flow and get rid of the said formation and barrier. However, the stronger and higher-ranked barrier or formation it was, the lesser of such flaws on loopholes would exist. Right when Khan targeted Rolakin, he traced one of these breaking points that appeared only for 2 seconds before returning to its impervious state. And that 2-second window represented his sole opportunity, a fleeting moment in which he had to act swiftly. However, merely identifying the weakness did not guarantee the destruction of the barrier. It required an immense amount of raw attack power and the ability to strike the pinpointed region with unparalleled precision. Without these essential elements, the knowledge of the weakness would be rendered utterly futile. In this critical moment, Khan used his second specialty as an arcane enchanter. This remarkable title belonged to a unique class within the realm of magic, which Khan had unlocked and developed during his intensive training. The path to invoking this class was paved by his mentor, Awakens, a master in the Vulcan Empire who had imparted the wisdom of artificing upon him. Through diligent study and practice, Khan had become proficient in harnessing the powers of both dwarven and elven runes in order to become a saint-rank blacksmith. Furthermore, under the tutelage of Vildred, he delved deep into the skills of the enchanter class, bolstered by the gifts bestowed upon him by Brocker and Eitri, the deities of blacksmithing. This amalgamation of knowledge and blessings culminated in an unexpected outcome: his ability to invoke the arcane enchanter class. What ensued were transformative effects. If the Scholar Saint Magician class had empowered him to comprehend, master, and dismantle even the most formidable legendary rank magic formations or barriers, then the Arcane Enchanter class bestowed upon him the means to break, neutralize, and even alleviate them. And how did he accomplish this extraordinary feat? The runes. Harnessing the powers bestowed by the Arcane Enchanter class, Khan wielded plethora of perfect runes capable of obliterating or mitigating the weakness of different barriers or formations. However, it would be remiss to underestimate the sheer potency of this rune. When Khan forcefully collided with the barrier, unbeknownst to anyone, a diminutive fist-sized octagonal rune materialized just inches above his clenched fist. Adorned with archaic symbols, this seemingly innocuous rune concealed within it a cataclysmic force capable of reducing a small village to ruins. Astonishingly, this destructive power had been condensed into a thin film, no thicker than a sheet of paper. In a display that went unnoticed by onlookers, at the precise moment when Atrus/Khan struck the barrier at its weak point, the rune pierced through the density of the barrier, momentarily nullifying its formidable effects. However, breaching the legendary rank barrier proved to be no easy feat. This temporary weakness, albeit fleeting, would last no longer than a mere moment. As soon as the flow of world energy changed, the weak spot would vanish, leaving no trace of its existence. Therefore, Khan only had a minuscule 0.1 second window to enter through the weakened barrier. It was during this infinitesimal timeframe that he employed one of his exceptional skills, phase shift. This extraordinary ability allowed him to temporarily transform his entire body into an ethereal form, granting him the power to pass through any material obstacle, including formidable magic barriers. Thus, the unfolding events were far from a display of flashy techniques or earth-shattering explosions that could decimate the surrounding area with their shockwaves. There was no overwhelming skill that would render onlookers speechless and awestruck. Thanks to the harmonious amalgamation of his two unique classes invoked and his remarkable phase shift skill that he improved through intense and relentless training recently, what would take other fifth stage saints one day to achieve, Khan accomplished within just 1 second. To the casual observer, it appeared as though he effortlessly passed through the legendary barrier. However, in truth, it was the culmination of his grueling and torturous training, a journey that would have driven lesser individuals to madness. And the result was in front of everyone to see. In the present moment, the entire hero's party stood in stunned silence, their minds reeling from the astonishing revelation before them. Each member was left speechless, their thoughts tangled and disoriented by the magnitude of what they had just witnessed. They had all witnessed Rolakin employ this formidable barrier on numerous occasions, fully aware of its impenetrable nature. Even for the members of the party, breaking through it seemed like an insurmountable challenge. Yet, here stood Atrus, effortlessly passing through the barrier as if it were nothing more than a figment of their imagination. It was an awe-inspiring sight that left the party in a state of bewilderment and disbelief. "You bastard!" screamed Rolakin in pain as his arms were bleeding profusely, but in response, Atrus responded with an insidious grin. "Although we don't have a healer in our group, I heard the Basilisk tribe members have great regenerative ability. I can't kill you since you're part of the group, but it doesn't mean I can't rip apart your arms and legs. You will keep regenerating over time, and I will keep torturing you until you beg me for forgiveness," declared Khan. Everyone was shocked again. Why? Because these were the same words Rolakin spoke before the showdown between Atrus and the Heroes Party members began. "No, please," said the mage in a terrified and trembling voice. However, his plea fell on deaf ears. The legendary rank magic barrier was still active, and only Rolakin and Atrus were present inside, while others couldn't come. And at this moment, the Snakekin couldn't deactivate it because he lost both of his arms. "You know, I'm kind of a sadist myself," Khan declared as he sharpened his claw. "I call this routine." With Rolakin caged with him inside this barrier, Khan decided to display one of his favorite talents to the rest of the members of the Heroes Party. Asian parenting. After Khan in his Atrus form and Rolakin were the only two people left inside this 2-kilometer radius legendary barrier, a horrific scenario emerged in front of everyone's eyes. Soon, Khan started using his claws to shred Rolakin's serpentine skin and pucked out his hexagonal scales one by one. "No, don't. H!" The Snakekin wriggled and screamed loudly. As Khan started peeling off the skin from his face, chest and arms, the Wolfkin's legs also stomped and crushed the bones in Rolakin's hips and the long tail that came out of his waist. "Stop!" wailed the Snakekin in excruciating pain again, but instead of showing empathy, bang! Khan quickly punched and broke his ribcage. "That's just the appetizer. Here's the main dish," spoke Atrus in a ghastly tone, and his eyes glowed yellow. Lucid reality was activated, and Rolakin found his surrounding changing into a terrifying hellish atmosphere. Thousands of Rolakin, his exact replicas, were tortured in various ways. Some were fried in massive woks filled with oil, some had their innards pulled out, and some were slashed and hacked into multiple pieces by Atrus using nothing but his woven claws. "Got any preferences?" asked Khan with a wicked smile, appearing as if he was the lord of this version of hell. Right then, boom! A massive explosion happened over the barrier as the remaining saints attacked the barrier to help Rolakin. Rolakin was on the verge of fainting due to sheer pain. "Oh no, not so soon. The meal just started." Khan then summoned and used high-grade regeneration, stamina, and vitality potions so that Rolakin would recover quickly. All so that Khan could shatter his bones, skin his flesh, and then rip apart his limbs from time to time. Rolakin was screaming and crying, pleading for mercy as Khan was enjoying torturing him. The rest of the members of the party attacked the legendary rank barrier with all their might, but their collective strength was barely making a difference. And even with their collective forces, it would take at least 4 hours for this barrier to deplete its world energy completely. Maximus, who observed the horrifying scene from a distance, was deeply unsettled by the brutality unfolding before his eyes. Overwhelmed by his concern, he reached out to Atrus through a telepathic connection, seeking an explanation for the extreme measures being taken. "Atrus," Maximus spoke empathetically, "I witnessed your unforgiving and ruthless nature during the Elysium tribal tourney, particularly towards your enemies and those who dared to disrespect you. But in this instance, are you not taking it too far? Is it truly necessary to subject Rolakin to such torment simply to assert your dominance over the others?" However, Khan's response resonated with a stern and resolute tone as he addressed Maximus's concerns. "I'm doing what you should have done years ago when this party was formed. You might not know about their deeds since you have been under surveillance all these years and no one actively informs you about the affairs behind the shadows. Just know that what I'm doing, they had it coming." He spoke in a composed voice. Why would Khan suddenly provoke the members of the Heroes Party on the very first day of his annotation? It was because he was simply giving them a reality check. As he observed Rolakin writhing in excruciating pain, his screams piercing the air, Khan reflected on the fact that what Rolakin was currently experiencing was merely a fraction of the pain and suffering he himself had once inflicted upon innocent individuals in the past. It served as a stark reminder of the depths of agony he had once subjected others to. 2 weeks ago, Khan received details on all the members of the hero's party before he officially joined. Svanna, the feline assassin of the group, had caused an accident due to her mistake during a mission, causing an entire village and its population to lose their homes due to a poisonous curse caused by a legendary rank monster's corpse. Like an idiot, instead of luring it away, she fought it near a village, and the corpse of the monster released toxic fumes that gushed out of its body and spread across the village. As a result, hundreds of people died, and those who survived developed an illness similar to blood cancer. Also, many of them, including newborn infants, the elderly and children, had their bodies deformed due to mutation and side effects of the curse that the monster's corpse released. The imperial authorities buried the matter, and even to this day, many of the survivors were imprisoned in experiment labs and facilities somewhere across the empire for the alchemists and mages to create cure and perform experiment on their bodies like lab rats. The single punch that knocked her out with dozens of broken bones was actually Khan showing her mercy, since he couldn't kill her. As for Awakens, this guy was even more deplorable. 3 years ago, a snakekin mage was assigned the responsibility of overseeing and temporarily acting as the protector of a town, which was thriving due to the sighting of mountains with rare ore mines, promising to boost the empire's economy. The mines employed nearly 600 workers, providing them with much-needed jobs and contributing to the town's prosperity. These mines were abundant in mana ores, with some sections even containing S-rank ores. However, this irresponsible mage neglected his duty as the town's guardian and instead ventured deep into the mines. In these mana-rich depths, the delicate flow of mana required careful handling, something any sensible mage would understand. Unfortunately, this snakekin mage threw caution to the wind and recklessly tested his magic spells for his own amusement. The consequences were devastating. The sudden surge in mana condensation caused by his uncontrolled and unfiltered magic usage triggered a cataclysm. The mines erupted in a series of explosions, shattering the connected tunnels and reservoirs of mana ores. This disastrous chain reaction not only resulted in the tragic deaths of every single worker in the mines, but also caused the neighboring mountains, linked by underground passages, to erupt uncontrollably. The humongous debris flew in the sky, and where did it land? On the town. In an unimaginable turn of events, a meteor shower of destruction rained down upon the unsuspecting residents, leaving chaos and devastation in its wake. The majority of the townspeople perished in this unforeseen calamity, caught off guard by a disaster of such magnitude. All of it happened just because Awakens forgot to follow the safety protocol due to his curiosity and excitement. Obviously, Awakens, being a saint and a mage, used this very legendary rank barrier to protect himself and survived without a single injury. Following this harrowing incident, the responsibility of the cleanup fell upon one of the 12 tribes, much like Khan as Atrus and Dorian had acted as the cleanup crew for Conan just a few months ago. The negligence displayed by Awakens had unfathomable consequences, leading to the tragic deaths of over 1,000 individuals. Astonishingly, despite the magnitude of his actions, no one ever held him accountable for the immense loss of life and the irreversible damage caused solely because he was part of the hero's party. But at this very moment, Khan was torturing Awakens under that very legendary rank magic barrier that once protected his life, acting as his cage and aiding Khan who tortured him. In a way, Khan was simply exercising what people called as Asian parenting on Earth. If you make a serious mistake and cause irreparable consequences, you will receive a beating you will never forget. That was the ancient way of the Asians when it came to raising their children. And it actually worked in raising responsible men and women in their cultures. The only thing Khan was missing at this point was a sandal and a leather belt, otherwise it would be perfect. Now, why was Khan suddenly playing a hero here by acting like a warrior of justice? The current Khan always expected the worst in people, and his days of playing a righteous hero were long gone. Due to his experience in the past few years, he had long abandoned his aspirations of being a savior, becoming a cynic who anticipated the worst in people even if they were weak and poor. However, in this particular situation, he found himself playing the role of a divine punisher due to a personal request from his master, the Heavenly King of Fire. Romulus, being in a position of authority within the empire, faced limitations in officially punishing those responsible for their crimes. Understanding the need for justice to prevail, Romulus turned to Khan, his trusted disciple, and bestowed upon him the responsibility of meting out justice on his behalf after the latter was forced to join the hero's party. It was a significant task for Khan, one that went against his disillusioned nature and his skepticism towards the inherent goodness of people. Yet, driven by loyalty and a sense of duty to his master, he reluctantly agreed to take on the role of the divine punisher. As for the rest of the members, Khan never made exceptions or showed mercy to those who deserved his wrath. Having exacted his retribution upon Awakens, Khan's thirst for justice was momentarily quenched. Seizing the opportunity, he brazenly snatched the artifact Awakens had used to summon the legendary barrier, openly displaying his act of theft before the astonished onlookers. As the barrier dissipated, the remaining 6 members of the group unleashed their saintly pressure, their murderous aura fixated on Awakens. A suffocating wave of intimidation cascaded towards him, seeking to overwhelm him with a horrifying and oppressive aura. Boom! But in a sudden explosion of power, a dark blue aura surged forth, enveloping the area within a 5-kilometer radius. The sheer force radiated from Khan, disrupting and scattering the collective oppressive aura directed at Awakens. War dominance. With his unrivaled mastery of war dominance, Khan single-handedly thwarted the intense killing intent, overpowering it with his indomitable will. The combined domain effect, which had previously burdened him with debilitating debuffs, instantly diminished by half in the face of his overwhelming power. At that moment, the atmosphere shifted. The previously confident and menacing 6 members found themselves facing a force they had not anticipated. Khan's display of war dominance was something they had seen in the Elysium tribal tourney, and now, not only it halted their aggression but also served as a stark reminder of his prowess to easily overthrow their saint pressures. Without wasting a single moment, Khan swiftly directed his attention towards Vikat, the Tengu halberd warrior adorning golden armor. Vikat, a master of long-range attacks as a metal elemental halberd warrior and a true descendant of the god-beast Rock, posed a formidable challenge with his skill set. As Vikat realized that Awakens had set his sights on him, he summoned hundreds of golden halberds that unleashed devastating laser beams, leaving behind 10-meter-long craters in the ground. The destructive display showcased Vikat's prowess and the formidable power at his disposal. Yet, to Vikat's surprise, Awakens evaded the onslaught of laser beams effortlessly, gracefully moving with a fluidity that resembled dancing. In the blink of an eye, Awakens dodged the destructive attacks, narrowly avoiding their path while maintaining an imaginary partner in his embrace. "Is he dancing?" wondered Vikat with a gobsmacked countenance. Vikat's astonishment was evident, his countenance displaying a mix of disbelief and awe. Observing Awakens maneuver with ease, it became apparent that he was not simply evading the attacks but performing intricate dance-like movements that defied logic. Unbeknownst to Vikat, Awakens was indeed dancing, executing the elegant steps in midair. His precise footwork and nimble agility enabled him to navigate through the onslaught of destructive halberds in a mesmerizing display of skill and grace. Anyone from Earth witnessing Khan's astounding feat would have recognized the artful dance. In mere microseconds, Awakens effortlessly avoided the devastating halberds, which left trails of destruction in their wake, obliterating ancient ruins in a 2-kilometer radius. In the midst of battle, Khan was doing tango. Vikat was simply speechless and almost wondered if he was dreaming. Grab! But the very next second, seizing the opportunity, Khan swiftly seized 2 of the 10-meter-long golden halberds, their surfaces shimmering with a radiant glow. With a deft manipulation of his ice element, he infused the halberds with his frigid power, causing them to freeze and become encased in a layer of glistening permafrost. A whirlwind of motion surrounded Khan as he spun with calculated precision, channeling his energy into a devastating javelin throw. The frozen halberds, now transformed into icy projectiles, were propelled forward with remarkable force and accuracy. With a swift and fluid release, the frozen javelins streaked through the air, leaving behind a trail of icy mist. Their lethal potential and the biting chill of their icy exteriors posed a formidable threat to anyone unfortunate enough to be in their path. Shoot! Shoot! As the confrontation escalated, Atrus swiftly shifted his focus, redirecting his attention from his own attack to a strategic maneuver. With precision and quick thinking, he aimed his own weapons at Vikat, the Tengu halberd warrior, preparing to unleash a counterstrike. As Atrus unleashed a barrage of projectiles towards Vikat, the Tengu warrior reacted swiftly. Drawing upon his arsenal of halberds, he skillfully manipulated them to form a shield-like barrier, an impromptu defense against Atrus' assault. Halberds clashed with halberds, creating a cacophony of clashing metal as Atrus' projectiles collided with Vikat's makeshift shield. The shield held steadfast, warding off the incoming onslaught with a resolute determination. Boom! Crumble! And all the weapons used to create this shield crumbled, destroyed in mere seconds. As Vikat witnessed the destruction of his own weapons at the hands of Atrus, disbelief and astonishment washed over him. The realization that his own arsenal had been turned against him, only to crumble and disintegrate, left him shaken to the core. Impossible! He used my own weapons against me, and then effortlessly destroyed dozens of them simply by infusing his own world energy. What kind of monster is this guy? He spoke with sheer terror in his eyes and his voice quivering with incredulity. To completely rearrange the world energy, change the elemental structure and infuse his own world energy to make the weapon even stronger than the original. And all of that done in a single second. Even Awakens and Speaky can't do that despite being magician classes themselves. He thought to himself. Inwardly, Vikat grappled with the magnitude of Atrus' power. The sheer mastery displayed in his ability to manipulate world energy to completely rearrange the elemental structure and infuse his own world energy into the weapons was beyond anything Vikat had witnessed before. Thoughts raced through Vikat's mind as he contemplated the implications of Atrus' abilities. Even among magician classes such as Awakens and Speaky, the feat Atrus had just demonstrated was beyond their capabilities. To completely alter the world energy and strengthen the weapon, surpassing its original power, all accomplished within a single second. Such extraordinary skill defied comprehension. Vikat, known for his own prowess as a true descendant of the god-beast rock, felt a shiver run down his spine. Swoosh! Atrus appeared behind the Vikat who was taken aback. And the very next moment, Atrus used his maw to bite and rip apart Vikat's right wing from its roots on the back and slashed the other one with his left claw. Screamed the Tengu, but before his terrifying scream reverberated in the surround. Atrus, seizing the opportunity, firmly grasped Vikat's arms, allowing the permafrost to rapidly spread across the Tengu warrior's body. The icy tendrils snaked their way across Vikat's form, encasing him in a frozen prison. As the permafrost enveloped Vikat, his once formidable movements came to an abrupt halt. He stood frozen, as if transformed into a statue carved from ice, his body locked in a state of immobility. And now Vikat had become a frozen princess. After Atrus unexpectedly grabbed the Tengu halberd warrior's body and encased him like a frozen princess. The chill of the ice permeated Vikat's entire being, rendering him powerless and unable to resist. Every limb, except for his head and torso, succumbed to the freezing embrace of the permafrost, turning his limbs into lifeless, frozen appendages. The scene before the onlookers was one of surreal stillness, as Vikat stood frozen in time, captured within the icy grip of Atrus' power. The air itself seemed to hold its breath, as if acknowledging the momentous turning point in the battle. What the hell is happening? Why isn't Vikat using his world energy to escape? Asked Borat to Speaky via a telepathic communication. The fire summoner class mage then paid attention to the surrounding atmosphere around Atrus and Vikat. Gasp! The red peacockkin gasped in shock and quickly relayed to his fellow companions. I don't know how he did it or which artifact he used without us noticing, but that Atrus has somehow blocked the flow of world energy in Vikat's body. Vikat is no longer capable to even use his own world energy reserves. Said Speaky. What nonsense is that? How can someone block a saint's world energy unless they're using a domain or a legendary artifact to seal it? And this guy isn't even a mage either. Questioned Zavaliz, the white bearkin. All of you, stop. Don't move. Vikat's body is in danger, shouted Speaky in bewilderment. Other members of the group suddenly halted their movements, because they were experienced enough to know that if they tried to attack Atrus now, they might as well hurt their comrade instead. Crack! The silence was shattered as cracks began to spiderweb across the surface of the ice, a testament to the immense strain placed upon it. With a resounding shatter, the frozen shell that entrapped Vikat burst apart, scattering shards of ice in all directions. However, the momentary peace didn't even like 3 seconds and bang! With a swift and powerful punch, Atrus delivered a direct blow to Vikat's head, sending the Tengu warrior crashing to the ground. Rumble! The impact reverberated through the battlefield, the force of the strike rendering Vikat immobile. As the dust settled, revealing the aftermath of the devastating blow, a somber scene unfolded. Vikat's once formidable body lay shattered, his limbs crumbling like fragile glass. Only his head and torso remained intact, a stark contrast to the broken fragments scattered around him. The sight of Vikat's body with only the head and torso sent a chilling silence through the onlookers. The battle hadn't even reached its climax, but the toll of the conflict was now painfully evident. The raw power displayed by Atrus had shattered the once indomitable warrior, leaving him broken. After taking out Vikat using his pre-made runes that carried the might of a legendary rank formation to seal a saint's world energy just through physical touch, Khan turned his attention to his next target, Zavaliz, a 5th stage saint with a formidable snow domain. Everyone, attack him together! Shouted Borat and directed the forces of his domain and attacked Atrus without giving him another opportunity. They had done the mistake of not taking Atrus seriously and using their all might from the start, and their ignorance caused the fall of 3 of their comrades so far, each suffering a fate worse than the other. Soon, hundreds of wood elemental constructs such as weapons, projectiles, and even puppet-like creatures, acting as soldiers attacked from below, while dozens of gigantic ice elemental battle axes and hundreds phoenix-like birds made of scalding heat attacked the blue wolfkin. Boom! Another massive explosion erupted, sending shockwaves in the sky above and ground below. The rubble from the ancient ruins turned into smithereens after such massive and destructive explosion. However, when the explosion cleared, Atrus was nowhere to be seen. "Did we get him?" spoke Borat with a confused expression. Despite being a 6th stage saint himself, for some reason, he could not sense Atrus at all. And right then, swoosh, like a sudden flash of sunlight, Atrus appeared 3 kilometers away. But his new location instantly put everyone on alert, because right now he appeared behind Zavaliz. Thump, thump, like a pulsating heart, the Beowulf gauntlets reverberated and condensed huge amounts of world energy in them. And in just a microsecond, Zavaliz's entire body shuddered in fear. Atrus' fist suddenly looked like a massive mountain to the bearkin, his 4-meter-tall figure appearing to be insignificant in front of his terrifying killing intent. "Ah, damn," said Zavaliz and quickly used his epic rank battleaxe to block the attack. However, much to Zavaliz's dismay, his domain and weapon proved utterly ineffective against Atrus/Khan. The battlefield became a stark contrast, with Zavaliz's battleaxe shivering from the cascading fist attack by Atrus. This is too strong. Arg! The frustration etched upon Zavaliz's face was evident, his confidence waning as he realized the immense challenge before him. Shatter! With a surge of raw power, Atrus shattered Zavaliz's epic rank battleaxe with a single forceful punch. Using the full strength of Beowulf, Atrus completely turned the tide of this battle in just 1 second. The resounding impact echoed through the battlefield, leaving a trail of shock and disbelief in its wake, because just now, Zavaliz's battleaxe instantly shattered like glass from Atrus' punch. As Zavaliz witnessed his weapon crumble before his eyes, a mix of anger and frustration clouded his expression. His pride wounded, he seethed at the taunting words that escaped Khan's lips. A sixth-stage saint and still unable to afford a legendary rank weapon. Your poverty disgusts me, said the blue Fenrirborn. Khan's voice dripped with contempt as he addressed Zavaliz, emphasizing the perceived inadequacy of his opponent's equipment. Rumble. Suddenly, a massive 200 meters wide azure dragon fist descended from the sky. That previous attack was just a feint, thought Zavaliz, frozen on the spot because he knew he couldn't dodge this attack at this critical moment. Go spend money and buy an OP weapon to kill the main story's final boss. That is me, spoke Khan as his grim voice resounded, and before Zavaliz could even recover from the shock. Boom! A monumental clash turned the heaven and earth blind for a second, more than enough to signify that this was a one-shot move. Finally, the bearkin's heavily injured body dropped on the debris of the ancient ruins, creating a massive 300 meters wide gaping hole. And right before Zavaliz started losing his consciousness, he heard Atrus' disappointed voice. I hate fighting poor people. As Atrus unleashed his power upon Zavaliz, the battle unfolded with shocking speed. In a mere 20 seconds, Atrus swiftly dismantled his opponent's defenses, leaving Zavaliz incapacitated and defeated. The efficiency and precision of Atrus' assault left those witnessing the spectacle in a state of astonishment. The onlookers, including Borat, were taken aback by the swiftness with which Atrus shattered Zavaliz's weapon and subdued the white bearkin battle-axe warrior. Zavaliz, despite his status as a sixth-stage saint, was expected to put up a formidable fight, lasting for hours against his opponents. However, Atrus' dominance over the encounter defied all expectations. Confusion rippled through the crowd as they grappled with the realization that Zavaliz's world energy had failed to activate to its full capacity, much like Vikat's. The unusual circumstances surrounding both battles added an air of mystery and intrigue, leaving those present questioning the nature of Atrus' power and the forces at play. Borat, himself a sixth-stage saint of equal strength to Zavaliz, stood dumbfounded by the display of Atrus' overwhelming prowess. The disparity in their abilities and the ease with which Atrus dispatched Zavaliz left Borat questioning his own strength and the limits of his own power. And right after Zavaliz fainted, Atrus looked to his right and saw the stupefied Lionkin saint. Atrus pointed at Borat, who was floating 3 kilometers away in the sky. Hey green beard, wait for your turn, he openly warned. Swoosh! With a calculated motive, Khan swiftly closed in on Pakawar, the 4-armed Naga spearman. Recognizing Pakawar's status as a third-stage saint, Khan deemed him a potential threat that needed to be neutralized swiftly and decisively even if he was one of the weakest links of the group. In a seamless motion, Khan lunged forward, his hand firmly grasping Pakawar's own spears. Stab! Before the Naga warrior could even register Atrus' presence behind him, the Fenrirborn drove the spears into Pakawar's body with a forceful stab, causing the warrior to cry out in agonizing pain. Bang! Khan then swiftly followed up with a powerful punch, delivering a resounding blow to Pakawar's wriggling body. The force of the impact sent the Naga warrior sprawling among the ruins of the ancient structures, the echoes of the clash fading into silence. With this, Atrus had the shortest encounter in this fight, not even sparing the Naga spearman more than 5 seconds. In the following moments, his gaze landed on Speaky, the fire summoner class Peacockkin. As soon as Speaky noticed Atrus' malicious gaze, a chill ran down his entire body. That bastard is gonna come for me next. He spoke as his entire being shuddered in fear. Flash! Before others could get the gist of the situation, Khan appeared 2 kilometers away and took out a rectangular black object that emitted a golden aura. Quickly, a 5-kilometer wide spherical dome-like structure appeared in the sky and covered Atrus and Speaky in a dark red isolation barrier. Damn it! Cursed Borat, his countenance revealing his helplessness, because what Khan activated was the same legendary artifact he took from Awakens to isolate themselves in a different battlefield. That idiot was too weak to use this artifact to its full capacity. In an open war, this artifact can save thousands of soldiers and many troops while also enhancing their combat capabilities. Yet that Awakens idiot was using it just as a mere barrier. spoke Khan to himself. As a saint-rank artificer, he knew how to handle artifacts that were created using runes much better than anyone else present here. Thus he found a way to fully maximize the artifact and created a 5-kilometer diameter barrier instead of just 2 like Awakens did. And right then, a notification rang in Khan's head. All restrictions on the host's physical stats have been reduced by 20%. All restrictions on the host's movement skills and agility have been reduced by 30%. Informed the system. Good thing I knew that legendary rank isolation artifact can throw away the effects of enemy domains like this as well. Spoke Khan to himself and grinned as he looked at Speaky. Both of them were 5th stage saints, equal by rank. Yet the disparity in their strength and battle prowess was already established to everyone. And after seeing what Khan did to Awakens under this very magic barrier, Speaky felt his soul leaving his body. "Don't with me, you bastard!" shouted Speaky in rage. Whoosh! Without waiting on a ceremony, the fire summoner created a force field made of fire to protect himself. And outside of that barrier, he summoned hundreds of firebirds with sharp beaks and talons. Screech! The flocks of firebirds screeched like eagles and set their sights on Atrus. Clang! On the other side, Khan, in a display of his mastery over ice element, summoned thousands of icicles from behind him. Each icicle stood at an imposing height of 5 meters, forming a formidable army of artillery weapons under his command. The field was transformed into a dazzling spectacle as the glistening icicles hovered in the air, reflecting the ambient light. Khan's ice army represented a force to be reckoned with against the flying wall of firebirds. Shoot! Like bullets and missiles, both sides launched a barrage of their respective elemental attacks. Clang! Boom! Fire versus ice. As the battle reached its crescendo, the sky became a canvas of chaos and destruction. Incessant explosions reverberated through the air, shaking the very foundation of the surrounding landscape. The forces of nature, embodied by Khan and Speaky, clashed with an intensity that defied imagination. The explosions echoed with an unyielding ferocity, sending shockwaves through the atmosphere. The sheer power unleashed by these two formidable opponents rent the air, tearing through everything in a 5-kilometer radius. The ground quaked beneath the weight of the impact, ancient structures crumbling in the wake of the relentless assault. The sky became a spectacle of chaos and fury as explosions blossomed like deadly fireworks, their brilliance and devastation intertwining in a macabre dance. The ear-deafening sound and blinding light emanating from each explosion painted a vivid picture of the titanic clash that unfolded above. Damn it! I can't find a battle of attrition with him after he took down Zavali's. Because he isolated us in this formation, Borat's domain can't debuff him inside either. I need to go all out from the start or I will meet the same fate as the rest. Reacted Speaky. He was a magic class saint, so he quickly discovered his shortcomings and disadvantages in this clash. And the only option that appeared in front of him was to go all out from this point. In the following moments, the surviving firebirds quickly returned and assimilated with Speaky's figure covered and protected by the barrier. Atrus on the other side didn't react. I see. He's going all out. Maybe I should prepare myself as well. He thought, and a competitive smirk appeared on his face. And as if resonating with each other's thoughts, both Khan and Speaky used their elemental mastery over ice and fire, starting to transform into enormous beings. Boom! A red and blue aura erupted on opposite sides, sending tremors even outside of the barrier as the remaining onlookers watched in disbelief. What appeared inside this isolated battlefield was something none of them had imagined. Against scalding fire appeared a bone-chilling frost as two enormous creatures, each being 100 meters in height, appeared. Screech! Growl! And this clash between a summoner and a brawler had turned into a battle between a phoenix and dragon. In the midst of the chaos, the battlefield was suddenly transformed as two colossal beings emerged, each standing a towering 100 meters in height. One radiated an intense aura of scorching flames, while the other exuded an icy chill that seemed to freeze the very air around them. These colossal figures represented the embodiment of the fire and ice elements, their presence commanding awe and fear. The isolated battlefield, encompassing the entire 5-kilometer radius, became a stage for this epic clash of elemental forces. The ground trembled beneath the weight of their immense forms, cracks forming in the earth as they took their first steps. The fire elemental phoenix blazed with fiery brilliance, its colossal form wreathed in roaring flames that licked at the air. Its very presence exuded an overwhelming heat that caused the surrounding landscape to smolder and char. Opposite it, the ice elemental dragon stood, emanating an aura of bone-chilling cold from his wings. Frost and ice encased its massive figure, glistening in the ambient light. As it moved, the ground beneath its feet froze, leaving a trail of icy destruction in its wake. As the two titanic beings locked eyes, a palpable tension filled the air. It was a battle of opposing elements, a clash of raw power that threatened to reshape the very fabric of the battlefield. The sky darkened with swirling clouds, as if reflecting the elemental turmoil about to unfold. With each step the dragon took, the ground quaked and trembled, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. Hey, you're a descendant of rock who looks like a peacock. Why is your transformed form a phoenix? He asked nonchalantly. Are you having an identity crisis? Stick with your character's background setting, will you? Spoke Atrus in an admonishing tone. You bastard, you're a Fenrirborn. Why is your transformation a dragon? Asked Speaky. And with a kind and friendly smile, Khan casually replied, because damn, that's why. Shoot. Like a cannonball, the ice dragon shot forth towards the phoenix, assisted by massive ice pillars that launched themselves like spears at the enemy. Shrill, the piercing sound, like a high-pitched crescendo, filled the air as Speaky unleashed a devastating attack akin to a fiery laser beam, harnessing the full force of his abilities. Roar! In response, the ice dragon let out a mighty roar, a primal and thunderous sound that reverberated with power and dominance. The roar carried an undertone of challenge and defiance, a declaration of his unwavering resolve to confront and overcome his opponent. Instead of dodging the super beam attack by the phoenix, the dragon charged in front of it, facing the full brunt of it head-on. Boom! The clash of fire and ice reverberated through the air, a symphony of elemental fury that resonated with a power beyond mortal comprehension. The clash between Atrus and Speaky reverberated through the pocket dimension, its impact shaking the very fabric of their surroundings. The air crackled with energy as their powers collided, creating a symphony of shrill and roaring sounds that echoed through the sky. The clash between these two formidable beings intensified as their powers clashed, their immense strength and determination on full display. The sky became a battleground of explosions and shockwaves, the shrill and the roar intertwining in a symphony of raw power. Everyone just became a spectator in this dazzling battle of two ginormous creatures, as red and blue lights flashed and blinded their sights. As the battle raged on, the sudden transformation of Atrus into an ice elemental dragon left those present in a state of bewilderment. The origins of this newfound form remained a mystery to the onlookers, but there was no time for questions or speculation amidst the chaotic clash. Little did they know that the answer to Atrus' transformation lay in the 5 combat techniques taught to him by Romulus. Among these techniques, the first two were known as harnessing and conceptualization. The journey to master these two techniques had been arduous and fraught with challenges. Atrus had faced countless trials and experienced death itself more than 20,000 times in his pursuit of mastery. Through sheer determination and unwavering commitment, he had persevered, unlocking the true potential of harnessing and conceptualization. Initially, it was believed that these techniques were limited to the manipulation and enhancement of weapons. However, Atrus had discovered that they resonated far beyond the realm of weaponry because one day, they found an unusual effect. Driven by curiosity and a desire to understand the weaknesses of his enemies, Khan sought knowledge from Vildred, the Sage of Preservation, on the weaknesses of the summoner class. In his pursuit of understanding, Khan attempted to summon elemental creatures, but found himself unsuccessful. However, under the guidance of the Lightning Dragon Emperor, he discovered a new path. With the accumulated world energy enveloping him, Khan sought to encase himself within its embrace, aiming to take on the form of a dragon. To his surprise, the dormant draconian bloodline within Khan's body responded on its own, resonating with his transformation attempt. At that moment, a revelation unfolded before him. He possessed the ability to temporarily transform into an elemental dragon, choosing the very element he desired to embody. The transformation, however, came with limitations. As the draconian bloodline within Khan's body was incomplete, he could only sustain his dragon form for a mere 10 minutes. In addition to his ability to transform into an ice elemental dragon, Khan now possessed the capacity to assume the forms of other powerful beings, including a basilisk, a Fenrir, and a primordial titan. Each transformation allowed him to harness the unique strengths and abilities associated with these extraordinary creatures while choosing the element at his own will, such as becoming a darkness dragon or even an ice Fenrir. However, during this particular encounter, Khan chose to manifest his ice elemental dragon form. This decision was rooted in practicality and strategic thinking, as it aligned with his ice elemental brawler class and complemented his renowned attack, the Azure Dragon Fist. By assuming the form of an ice elemental dragon, he could wield his signature techniques seamlessly, while drawing upon the power and attributes of his chosen element. Opting for the ice elemental dragon form also had an additional benefit. It allowed Khan to maintain a level of familiarity and reduce suspicion. Unlike his Fenrir bloodline, which he had not publicly showcased during the tribal tourney, his reputation as an ice elemental brawler who could use Azure Dragon Fist skill was already established. Thus, transforming into an ice elemental dragon would appear less out of place or raise unnecessary questions about his abilities. Khan's strategic approach demonstrated his keen understanding of the importance of perception and how his choices would influence others' perceptions of him. By aligning his transformations with his established skills and reputation, he maintained a sense of consistency and minimized potential scrutiny. As Khan embraced his ice elemental dragon form, the culmination of his ice elemental brawler class and his inherent draconian bloodline merged, enhancing his combat prowess and amplifying his icy attacks. So in simple words, Khan was at the level of a beginner 6th-stage saint instead of a 5th-stage saint, unlike everyone thought. And thus, the difference in strength and skills between him and Speaky was already akin to a child and a grown-up. As for what kind of punishment would Khan give this new colleague of his, no one was prepared for it. As the battle raged on, the 10 minutes of Khan's ice dragon form came to an end. With a final display of devastating power, the ice dragon tore the phoenix form of Speaky apart, rendering him helpless and forcing him to revert back to his true form. Meanwhile, Atrus, seizing the opportunity, utilized his runes with deftness and precision, discreetly executing a strategic move. His actions went unnoticed by the fire summoner, who remained oblivious to the manipulation happening right under their nose. Through his cunning and quick thinking, Atrus managed to seal the fire summoner's ability to cast magic spells. The suppression of the summoner's powers left him weakened and stripped of his most potent abilities. He could barely muster the strength to conjure even a small flame, reduced to the level of summoning a mere fire torch. As the aftermath of the intense battle settled, Khan, in his Atrus form, stood victorious over the unconscious Speaky. The battlefield, torn and ravaged, lay in silence, offering a moment of respite. Approaching the fallen opponent with a determined stride, Atrus spoke with an authoritative tone. "Stop acting. I know you're still awake." His words cut through the silence, leaving no room for deception or evasion. With a calculated step forward, Atrus placed his foot upon Speaky's feathery chest, asserting his dominance and ensuring his opponent's compliance. It was a stark display of his power and control, a physical manifestation of his triumph. In this pivotal moment, Atrus demonstrated his unwavering resolve and refusal to tolerate deceit. Despite Speaky's apparent unconsciousness, Atrus saw through the facade, refusing to be deceived by any pretense. Crack! As Atrus exerted pressure, deliberately cracking one of Speaky's ribs, a searing cry of agony erupted from Speaky's lips. "Arf!" shrieked Speaky in intense pain, his eyes turning bloodshot red. The intense pain coursed through his body, causing his eyes to turn bloodshot red, reflecting his torment and fury. That bastard! Just why is he beating us so much? What kind of enmity did he have with us? Asked Speaky to himself. In the midst of his suffering, Speaky's mind raced with questions, grappling to understand the reasons behind Atrus' relentless assault. Atrus comes down and looks at the defeated Speaky. He. Khan gave out a sadistic snicker. Why are you snickering? Asked Speaky, terrified. I wonder if you will taste like a chicken? Spoke Khan as his maw of sharp teeth and fangs started drooling. Speaky was horrified. To him, Atrus' figure now resembled a butcher with a massive knife. Rip! But before the fear was even etched into his mind, Khan ripped out his entire left arm. Speaky's screams and screeches echoed through the battlefield, reverberating with his unbearable pain. His body convulsed and wriggled in agony as the intensity of the suffering overwhelmed him. Each moment brought forth waves of excruciating torment, causing his entire being to contort and twist. As Speaky's cries filled the air, the once pristine ground became adorned with crimson-red blood, a stark reminder of the brutal consequences of the battle. The sight served as a haunting testament to the violence that had unfolded. Meanwhile, Khan, resolute in his actions, pulled out all of Speaky's feathers with a calculated and deliberate motion. The feathers, once vibrant and beautiful, were now strewn across the ground, discarded remnants of the avian warrior. Using his water blades, Khan skillfully and swiftly skinned and cleaned Speaky's arm. This part looks juicy enough. He spoke in a skeptical tone, and next, his gaze turned to Speaky. Hey, I need fire to roast this, mind giving me some? He asked nonchalantly. Speaky was terrorized to his core. Psychopath! You're a psychopath! He shouted while barely enduring the agonizing pain, stepping on Speaky's neck. 11:50. Khan in return only revealed a benign smile as he replied with a light bow. Thank you for the compliment. After completely overpowering and putting the opponent at his mercy, Khan was stepping on Speaky's neck. Do it or I'll kill you, he warned in a grim voice. You wouldn't dare. The Empire will not let you go unpunished, retorted Speaky with heavy and muffled breath. Oh, I dare very much. However, is that what you really want? Because whatever that may or may not happen to me, asked Khan. He then graced the groveling opponent a psychotic and terrifying smirk. You wouldn't be alive to see it. 5 minutes later, a completely petrifying scene appeared in front of everyone. Khan was roasting Speaky's juicy and tender arm full of delicious meat on the fire provided by Speaky himself. Hey, your flesh is very juicy and tender, though it could use some seasoning. Do you have any? He asked while relishing the arm of the enemy. You lunatic! Just kill me already, Speaky shouted while crying. As the fire crackled and the scent of cooking flesh permeated the air, Speaky, a fifth-stage saint with over 170 years of existence, found himself trapped in a harrowing and unprecedented situation. Throughout his life, he had been regarded with fear and respect, his very presence commanding authority and reverence. Yet, in this moment, all of that seemed to crumble. The humiliation and torture inflicted upon him by Khan shattered the facade of invincibility that he had carefully cultivated over the years. It was a profound blow to his pride, leaving him vulnerable and exposed in a way he had never experienced before. The weight of the torment he endured bore down on him, both physically and emotionally. The agony of the physical pain combined with the psychological torment of being subjected to such debasement created a deep sense of despair. The reason behind Khan's choice of such a method of torture was rooted in a deeply personal and tragic history. 5 years ago, Speaky had caused a catastrophic incident at a military outpost where he, during his temporary stay at the military headquarters, Speaky had conducted experiments, one of which involved his transformation into a phoenix. Was stationed as part of an imperial mission assigned by his tribe. During his temporary stay at the military headquarters, Speaky had conducted experiments, one of which involved his transformation into a phoenix. However, the trial went horribly wrong during his initial attempt, resulting in a devastating explosion that stretched over a 10-kilometer radius, decimating the entire area. Within the headquarters were not only the garrison of 50,000 soldiers but also management workers and numerous civilians who had dedicated themselves to protecting and serving the empire. They had innocently lost their lives, their existence reduced to ashes by the flames that consumed everything in their path. The lives that had been lost were individuals who held noble intentions and were committed to the empire's well-being. Their sacrifice had been in service of a cause greater than themselves, but their lives had been snuffed out in an instant. And then imperial authorities, seeking to conceal the true nature of the incident, had masked it as an attack by the Zivit Empire, the Empire of Elves. Since the fateful day of the devastating incident caused by Speaky, Romulus, the Heavenly King of Fire, had been closely monitoring his actions. Romulus, aware of the profound tragedy and loss that resulted from Speaky's experimentation, recognized the need for justice to be served. With Khan now a member of the Heroes' Party, Romulus saw an opportunity to fulfill this imperative. The Heavenly King of Fire commanded his disciple to subject Speaky to a similar treatment, a means to ensure that Speaky faced the consequences of his actions and experienced the pain he had inflicted upon others. At this moment, even Maximus, who watched this from afar, was distraught by the inhumane conduct displayed by Atrus. However, he chose not to interfere because he was certain that there was a reason why Atrus went this far, since his actions seemed driven by a strong cause than just a simple tyrant's tantrums. "Hey, time for you legs. I love giant drumsticks," said Atrus with a sinister grin. Today, the world of Vantria witnessed the birth of KFC. Khan Fried Chicken. Borat on the other end was shaking in fear. His body shivered as if it was drenched in cold water. "This guy," spoke the green-maned lionkin as his body barely dared to move, "is a menace to society." As the torture of Speaky continued for the next hour, the pain and trauma inflicted upon him reached a crescendo. The torment endured had pushed him to the brink of his physical and mental limits. Unable to withstand the intensity any longer, Speaky's body and mind succumbed to the overwhelming shock. The depths of his agony and the relentless torment inflicted upon him had taken a toll that his body and mind could no longer bear. With his consciousness fading, Speaky's brain, overwhelmed by the trauma, triggered a temporary shutdown, plunging him into a state of comatose. The battlefield, once consumed by the grisly scene of torture, now fell into an eerie silence. The air was heavy with the weight of what had transpired, the aftermath of violence and suffering. The atmosphere seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next turn of events. As Speaky lay in his temporary comatose state, the gravity of the situation became apparent. The extent of the physical and mental trauma inflicted upon him was starkly reflected in his lifeless form. The battle, once filled with ferocity and animosity, now seemed suspended in time. Atrus, having played a pivotal role in this macabre ordeal, stood amidst the aftermath, his actions having left an indelible mark upon the battlefield and the hearts of those present. The haunting stillness provided a momentary respite, as the consequences of their actions weighed heavily upon the minds of those who had borne witness. TCH, such poor resilience. This is barely 20% of what I underwent during my training, and this guy already fainted. Some saint he is, scoffed off Khan. As Atrus continued to devour the barbecued flesh of his defeated enemy, there was a noticeable absence of guilt or remorse on his face. The grotesque act of consuming the cooked meat of his foe did not faze him in the slightest. It was as if he had become desensitized to the horrors of violence and suffering, a result of the grueling trials and tribulations he had endured under the guidance of Romulus and Vildred. Throughout his journey of mastering various techniques and elemental skills, Atrus had faced countless deaths, each one serving as a stepping stone in his quest for power. The inhumane tortures and unimaginable pain inflicted upon him had shaped him into a being seemingly impervious to the horrors that would drive others to madness. The unsettling calmness with which he consumed the flesh of his enemy hinted at the depths of his detachment from the realm of empathy and compassion for his enemies. What he had displayed thus far was merely the tip of the iceberg, the entry-level manifestations of his torturing skills, and he had much more left in the bag. As Atrus deactivated the magic barrier, His piercing gaze fell upon Conan Doyle, a fourth-stage Saint swordsman and a formidable adversary. Standing at an imposing height of 3 meters, Conan was a white tigerkin warrior with whom Atreus had crossed paths even before joining the hero's party. Conan Doyle had recently earned the prestigious title of Sword of Retribution from the Nader Empire. This recognition was bestowed upon him for his valiant act of slaying Hodag, a mythical rank creature that had wreaked havoc, causing the deaths of millions of citizens. The creature's rampage had been fueled by centuries of slumber, awakening with a destructive fury that had threatened the lives and safety of countless innocents. Yet no one here apart from Atreus knew that he was the very cause of that massacre. Shiver. The hair on Conan's body perked up. Even his whiskers became as straight as needles when he saw Atreus glaring at him. "Borat, help me!" He contacted the green-maned lionkin, because after seeing everything happen so far, he was certain that he would meet the same fate as the others, or even worse. What can I even do? He took down everyone when he was suppressed by 3 domains. Now, even my domain can't make a difference if we fight. We are at his mercy now, responded Borat. Swoosh! Atreus quickly appeared in front of Conan and spoke with a casual smile. "How have you been, Conan? Not gonna greet your elder brother?" Flabbergasted. Conan stood flabbergasted in the sky after Atreus approached him. "Who the hell is your brother, you sadist psycho bastard?" thought Conan and gulped with a palpitating heart. 10 minutes after being beaten to death. "Go gather their bodies in one place," said Atreus as he clenched his bloodied fists. "Yes, elder brother," bowed Conan with a swollen face and a broken arm and leg. He quickly absconded to fetch the others with an expression showcasing how much he was terrified for his life. Khan had single-handedly destroyed the hero's party, and now only one member remained to hunt down. Next, he appeared a few meters away from Borat, the strongest among all the members of the hero's party apart from Maximus. "Step. Atreus, stop. I concede." Borat, caught in the midst of the charged atmosphere between Atreus and Conan, felt his survival instincts kick in. A primal urge to retreat and escape the looming danger surged within him. His subconscious mind screamed for him to take a step back, to distance himself from the impending clash if he wanted to preserve his own life. However, an invisible force seemed to grip Borat, preventing him from fully commanding his body as he desired. The intense killing intent emanating from Khan, the aura of power and dominance he exuded, had an insidious effect on Borat's psyche. It undermined his ability to act in accordance with his own survival instincts, leaving him in a state of inner turmoil and vulnerability. Khan casually walked towards Borat, who was of the same height. Khan wiped off his bloodied claws on Borat's shoulders with menacing eyes. "What did you call me now?" he asked the lionkin in a hushed but threatening voice. "Atreus," replied Borat, shivering despite being a rank higher than Atreus. He asked again and leaned forward towards Borat's left ear. "Atreus," spoke Borat hesitantly, his countenance displaying the terror in his heart. "Sir," shouted Khan. "Call me Sir," he declared in a tyrannical voice. "Yes, sir? Okay, sir." His domineering voice echoed in the surroundings. "Yes, sir." He solidified his tyranny. "Yes, sir," spoke Borat, still shivering but barely gathering strength to speak. The reason Khan let Borat go was that although the lionkin was the haughtiest and the most prideful among them due to him being the nephew of Heavenly King of Light, Halder, and a former candidate to become the official disciple, he was the only member of the hero's party without any innocent blood on his hands. Usually, one beats the strongest warrior from the enemy side and then deals with the weak ones later. However, Khan chose the opposite as he beat everyone else to death and then tortured them till they fainted from pain and trauma. By doing so, he instilled the fear of death in Borat, the strongest warrior of the opposition, without even touching him. And now, even he bowed his head against Atreus, admitting that the Fenrirborn was the strongest among them. One might as well call this approach unorthodox or a waste of time. But Khan had completed all the objectives he had in mind. And now, among the heroes' party and its members, Khan established his position at the top of the hierarchy. After the intense battle came to an end, Khan emerged victorious, solidifying his position as the highest authority within the heroes' party. Under Khan's command, Conan gathered all the unconscious members who were knocked out by Atrus in their bout. As they returned to the real world, the heroes' party emerged defeated and broken. Khan's ascent to the highest position of monarchy within the party marked a miserable chapter in their journey. The experiences they had shared and the terrifying torture they had undergone had scarred them mentally. Now, all of them were seated in the very hall where the meeting was supposed to happen when Atrus came into the villa first. "Wake up, you dipshits," spoke the blue wolfkin. Crackle. As the bone-biting frost filled the air, its icy tendrils reached out and enveloped the unconscious bodies of the heroes' party members. The freezing cold seeped into their very beings, penetrating the depths of their consciousness and stirring them awake from their slumber. One by one, they jolted back to consciousness, their eyes snapping open as they were greeted by the chilling embrace of the frost. The sudden awakening brought them back to the reality of their surroundings, their memories of the intense battle flooding back with clarity. Gasp! Tremble! Gasps and shivers resonated through the group as they shook off the remnants of unconsciousness, their senses alert and minds reawakened. The bone-chilling frost acted as a potent stimulant, rousing their bodies and minds from the fatigue and exhaustion of the battle. "All of you deserve a fate much worse than this. Yet your positions are protecting you from me," declared Khan in a lifeless tone. "Never forget that you're all alive at this moment because I allowed it. If this was outside of this current arrangement and there were no restrictions, I would be talking to a bunch of corpses at this moment," he stated in a domineering voice. Most of the party members had yet to completely regenerate their organs and heal fully even with their bloodlines and high-tier healing potions in effect. "You made a mistake. We will make you pay for this," spoke Zavaliz, the white bearkin whose forearms were nowhere to be seen. The other members also sneered inwardly, while some of them were scared to death after looking at the Fenrirborn in front of them. "I don't make mistakes. I'm not just like the rest of you. I'm stronger. I'm smarter. I'm better," spoke Khan without a shred of hesitation as he looked down on all of their existences with disgust. "I am better," he proclaimed in a tyrannical voice, leaving no room for argument. Why was Khan acting so arrogant out of the blue? Because strength was the only fundamental measure of authority that the people of Beast Empire acknowledged and listened to. And those who held such terrifying strength had all right to be so arrogant. "From today onwards, you all will behave like obedient children and listen to Maximus' orders," said Khan while pointing on the hero of nature standing behind his back with his left thumb. At this moment, Maximus was not displaying any intentions to meddle. The reason? It was because Khan specifically told Maximus about what every single one of them did and how many lives. Every time he beat a party member, Khan telepathically told Maximus about exactly what they did years ago and how many innocents lost their lives as these saints paraded as warriors of justice. One could say that Maximus was choosing to be quiet at this moment because there was no guarantee that he might not end up killing them with his own hands given his own sense of morals and justice. As for acting as the leader of the group, Maximus was never acknowledged in the past 8 years since he was summoned due to him being a human. If Atrus beating them to death brought order to this party, then he would welcome it instead. "Why should we?" Svanna, the feline assassin, rebutted. "Because this time, I didn't even use my domain since I wanted to take you all out one by one. If you don't obey me, I won't hold back next time," Khan warned while releasing his petrifying killing intent again. "How come none of you have realized this yet? The last time your domains affected me and almost killed me, it wasn't because you guys managed to hurt me." He spoke without a shred of fear. "It was because I allowed you to hurt me." His tyrannical voice echoed in the surroundings. "Now imagine what would happen if someone like me who none of you can even touch, hurt, or overpower in terms of strength despite working together, is after your life." His wrathful eyes hinted that if someone spoke another word, he might as well kill them right here. This was him holding back? "Why don't you just kill us instead?" thought Speaky, the one who suffered the biggest torture and humiliation at Atrus' hands. So before you forget today's beating, and since all of us are already here, let's discuss our strategy for the Conclave of Heroes, declared Khan in a solemn voice, acting as the judge of their fates. As for the repercussions, there weren't going to be any. Why? The reason behind this lay in the potential fallout that would occur if the Empress and the Heavenly Kings were informed of the true events of the battle. Imagine how the Empress and the Heavenly Kings would react upon hearing that a single saint, Atrus, had fought against all these powerful and talented saints from different tribes and clans, who were meant to be the future pillars of the empire. These individuals, highly regarded and esteemed by their respective factions, were soundly defeated, tortured, and left begging for mercy on Atrus's first day as the new member of the Heroes' Party. Such news, if revealed to the outside, would undoubtedly cause shockwaves throughout the empire, shattering the carefully cultivated image of invincibility and superiority that these powerful clans and tribes held. To avoid such a massive upheaval, it is likely that the Heroes' Party members would keep the true events of the battle hidden. And all of them had very valid reasons to hide the truth as well. In the culture of the Beast Empire, ganging up on someone in a battle was considered an act of cowardice and dishonor according to the Code of Warriors. It was a disgraceful act that went against the principles of fair combat and was frowned upon by the entire society. If the truth of their defeat and humiliation at the hands of Atrus were to be exposed and the fact that they ganged up on a single opponent shamelessly, it wouldn't just bring shame upon the defeated individuals, but also upon their clans, tribes, and entire species. The reputations of the defeated saints would be tarnished, and their authority within their respective factions might be questioned. It would undermine the confidence of the Empress and the Heavenly Kings, leaving them with doubts about the strength and capabilities of their supposed future generation of powerful saints. The shame and humiliation would be so profound that it might tarnish the reputation of not just the individuals involved but also their entire bloodlines and might as well drive some to the brink of despair, considering even suicide to escape the burden of disgrace. The prospect of such a revelation would be a horrifying prospect for the defeated individuals, and they would go to great lengths to keep the truth hidden, even if it meant taking the secret to their graves. This understanding was precisely why Khan/Atrus had never been worried about the consequences of his actions. He knew that the defeated saints would never dare to reveal the truth of their defeat, and thus, the battle would remain a secret known only to those who were present on that fateful day. And now, with 1 week remaining, came the time for the Conclave of Heroes. 2 days later, the atmosphere in the Imperial Throne Hall was tense yet filled with a sense of anticipation as the hundreds of people gathered, waiting for the Empress of the Nader Empire, Kali Adesisha, to speak. As the female figure materialized, the entire room fell silent, awestruck by her imposing presence. She stood at an imposing height of 2 meters, radiating power and strength. The shimmering blue eyes and faint violet hair added an otherworldly beauty to her already majestic appearance. In her godlike might, the Empress seemed almost untouchable, and those in her presence couldn't help but feel a mixture of awe and admiration. Her presence alone seemed to inspire worship and loyalty, and it was clear why she was the ruler of the Nader Empire. As the reigning ruler, Kali's presence commanded respect and awe, and all eyes were fixed on her as she began to address the assembly that included the presence of all the Heavenly Kings and the entirety of the Heroes' Party. With an authoritative and majestic tone, Empress Kali Adesisha spoke, her voice resonating with power and authority. "I reckon all of you have been informed about where we are going and what your objectives are, right?" Her words carried the weight of expectation, and she looked expectantly at the members of the Heroes' Party. In unison, the members of the Heroes' Party replied, "Yes, Your Imperial Majesty." Their voices echoed through the hall, a clear indication of their unity and readiness to fulfill her commands. At this event, no one spoke openly about the battle that had taken place, and the memory of Atrus's overwhelming power and mercilessness hung in the air like a dark cloud. Many present felt a sense of terror and unease in his presence, uncertain of when he might explode with rage or unleash his devastating abilities. Atrus had become an enigma, a ticking time bomb that no one dared to approach or provoke. The fear of facing his wrath and power kept many at a distance, and they would rather avoid being in the same room as him if they could. Yet, despite the lingering fear and unease, the members of the heroes' party had no choice but to be present in the throne hall. Also, they had taken an oath to serve the imperial orders, especially for the Conclave of Heroes, as this was the primary reason for them becoming a member in the first place. Good. Tomorrow morning, I and the Heavenly King of Fire will be escorting you to the Sacred Isle where the venerable monk from the Temple of Termesset will perform the ritual that will give all of you access to enter the sacred grounds of the gods. She declared with a plain emotion, yet her voice carried absolute authority. Once we enter, make sure to stay quiet and not cause any trouble or get into fights with any of the other heroes and their party members. Your main objective is to reach the holy site Hesperides. She gave them their next instructions. This time, things will be tense and everyone will be extremely vigilant since Hero of Darkness and the rumored cult of Darkborn might finally make their appearance. Although the Abyss Empire no longer exists, there's no guarantee that the cult of Darkborn doesn't have their own means to be present at the Conclave of Heroes. She revealed in a stern voice. The Heavenly Kings also revealed a serious countenance. And due to the pact between the gods, we won't be able to hunt or kill him when he does. At least not until he exits after completing his main task. And given his history, he might target Maximus just like he did with Hero of Fire and Hero of Nature, as we believe that he is following the same path as his predecessor. She proclaimed, warning them all to be vigilant. As for the other heroes and their party members, they might also use his name to hunt and kill other heroes, since there is a loophole in the rules for the first time in the history of the Conclave of Heroes. Stated the Empress, revealing another dangerous outcome. Obviously, there were always going to be some loopholes in the rules one way or another, and in a world where strength and cunningness triumphed everything. Thus, everyone would be looking forward to exploiting those loopholes for their own gains. They might as well attack you, kill everyone including the hero, and blame it on the Hero of Darkness and his group, since there won't be a way to know who actually did it on the sacred grounds. On top of it, since the other emperors and empresses will also be present, even someone like me won't risk going to war with others because of the transcendent sanction of the gods. The Empress' voice jolted the members of the heroes' party. And even if someone succeeds, no empire would go to war with another over a dead hero/heroine who can't even fight against the demon god. To put even more stress to this already precarious situation, Emperor Havihos Siegfried of the Vulcan Empire is also coming despite the death of Hero of Fire Axel Lobthrock. She declared in a grim tone, as if having an unpleasant memory of this person. What stance will he take after catching the Hero of Darkness is also very crucial. Because now, he has every justification to either kill or imprison the Hero of Darkness. And any other empire meddling or opposing his actions would go against the bylaws of the Conclave of Heroes. She shed light on the other side of the foreseeable future. There is so much politics involved, to the point that even an 8th stage saint like me cannot do anything but follow the laws, since this matter includes the gods and goddesses themselves. I and Romulus will handle those matters outside by ourselves. However, what happens inside will be left all on your capabilities to fight and survive. She spoke as if motivating them to do their best. So all of you have to put your lives on the line for the sake of the Nader Empire, so Maximus can complete the main task and return safely. Spoke the Empress with a benign and enchanting smile. And with that entrancing smile, she finished her words in a kind and tender voice. If he dies, so do all of you. The Sacred Isle was shrouded in an aura of mystique and ancient power. It was a place of great significance, known only to a select few and hidden from the prying eyes of the world. Protected by a formidable 5th stage saint, the Isle was a sanctuary where sacred ceremonies of utmost importance were conducted. As the ceremony commenced, the venerable monk of the Temple of Termesset, a wise and revered figure, led the proceedings. The atmosphere was solemn and charged with spiritual energy, as if the very air was infused with the blessings of the divine. Khan, disguised as Atrus, stood beside Romulus, his mentor and guide. Romulus was a figure of great influence and power, respected by all as one of the heavenly kings. Together, they exuded an air of authority and strength, which drew the attention of those present. On the other side, the Empress Kali, accompanied by the other members of the heroes' party, arrived at the sacred isle. They too carried an aura of importance and power, each of them a formidable warrior in their own right. The ceremony itself was a deeply symbolic and ancient rite, meant to invoke the blessings of the gods and the spirits of the land. It was a moment of profound significance, as it marked the beginning of the conclave of heroes. As the ceremonial rituals and praying towards the god of nature carried on, Maximus gave Atreus a nod that was missed by many. However, at the same time, both conversed telepathically. "Did you think about my proposition?" he asked Con. "Are you sure you want to do this? There are too many variables and conditional situations. It's unnecessary, to be honest. If even one of them goes wrong, we are done for. And most importantly, can you live with yourself by having that on your consciousness?" asked Con in return. "After knowing it, I don't think I will be able to live with myself if I didn't do anything. As for the consequences," responded Maximus, and his voice turned heavy, "I will take the responsibility." As the ceremony proceeded, archaic runes were etched on everyone's bodies, including Romulus and Kali. The sight of the venerable monk was both awe-inspiring and curious. A 2-meter-tall green tortoise, standing with a sense of serenity and wisdom, held a staff in his left hand while his right palm was raised sideways, as if in a gesture of peaceful greeting or blessing. His appearance defied expectations. For a tortoise to possess such stature and presence was unusual. Yet, his demeanor exuded a sense of ancient wisdom and spiritual power. The wrinkles on his face told a story of countless years of experience, and his eyes held a depth of knowledge that seemed to reach beyond the boundaries of time. The Empress and all those present could feel the venerable monk's spiritual energy radiating from him like a gentle, calming wave. It was as if his very presence brought tranquility to the surroundings, washing away any lingering tension or nervousness. As the sacred ceremony continued, the venerable monk led the prayers and rituals with quiet and profound grace. His words carried a weight of authority and reverence, drawing the participants into a deeper connection with the spiritual realm. "Venerable Ugwe, what do the divinations tell you?" asked Kali after she created an isolation barrier, leaving the only 3 strong saints to discuss the things between themselves. "I fear they will all lose, until they find a battle worth fighting," replied the venerable monk with a calm and soothing smile. "What?" Suddenly, the Empress and Romulus were taken aback. "What does it mean? Are they all going to die?" asked Kali haphazardly with a bewildered countenance. "It matters not what someone is born, but what they grow to be," replied the monk with an unchanged attitude, showing great control over his emotions and speech. "What can we do to prevent it?" asked Romulus, because he was genuinely concerned for both Con and Maximus. "Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why it is called the present." The monk's words echoed inside the barrier as he imparted his wisdom. After some time, the barrier disappeared and the venerable monk walked forth towards the members of the hero's party. "What do you mean by divinations?" asked Con to Romulus telepathically. The barrier was ineffective against Vildred, the bona fide sage watching the conversation from the true dimension. "Master Ugwe can see the glimpses of future. He practiced the law of divinations throughout his entire life," replied Romulus. "Is that similar to my space law?" asked Con. But instead of the Crimson Fenrirborn, it was Vildred who cleared his doubts. Out of the 5 hardest laws of reality to master, space law is the 3rd toughest one. Law of divination is the 2nd one. And even among 10 billion people, hardly one can master it. Revealed the former Dragon Emperor. "Which is the hardest then?" queried Congain. "Law of time." This time it was Rathnar who responded from within Con's soul. "That law is something only the people of the Empire serving God of Time practice. And even among millions of them, barely 100 people can master it to saint rank," informed the peak saint from his own experience. Although law of divination mostly gives abstract and doesn't give exact information about the events or the person, there wasn't a single time he was wrong in the past 400 years. Spoke Romulus, shedding light on the great wisdom of this venerable monk who appeared like a kind and old grandpa. "Just what rank is he?" queried Khan. Romulus replied with a bated breath. "He is a peak 8th stage saint." "What? Doesn't that mean he is the strongest person in the empire?" exclaimed Khan with a bewildered expression. "Yes, but he does not wish to rule, never did. He has devoted his life to the god of nature," revealed Romulus with a tone filled with respect. Venerable Ugwe was the strongest being in the empire, even above Kali, who was the current empress. Yet, this powerhouse had chosen a life to serve the god he believed in, heralding the institution that revered the god of life. "Kid, there's a problem!" Suddenly, Vildred shouted in Khan's mind with an alarmed countenance, because at this moment, Venerable Ugwe was exactly looking in a blank space where there was nothing but air. However, that was for those who didn't know that Vildred was hiding in that very space inside the true dimension. He can see me, and if I'm not wrong," spoke Vildred, ready to get into battle the situation arose. "He is a sage just like me," replied Vildred. "What the hell?" Khan's entire body was filled with goosebumps as he went into survival mode by activating all of his defensive and dimensional law skill, ready to run away within a moment. At this moment, Khan was terrified and on edge. My divinations told me that I would see someone unexpected here, but before Khan could even prepare any countermeasures, a profound and sagacious voice resounded in his head. This old and composed voice belonged to none other than Venerable Ugwe, who had his eyes closed with a friendly and gentle smile on his face as he conveyed his words to Khan. "Hero of darkness." As Khan and Vildred faced the formidable Venerable Ugwe, their shock and tension were palpable. Their situation was complicated further by the fact that Venerable Ugwe seemed to have seen through Khan's disguise as Atrus Bellator and his true identity as the Hero of Darkness. Vildred prepared his ancient rank spells, anticipating the possibility of a fight breaking out. However, to their surprise, there were no signs of enmity or retaliation from the venerable monk. "Kid, if I was at least a beginner 7th stage saint, I could match him in strength. But at this point, our only option is to run away," spoke Vildred with a wary expression. Even Vildred realized the vast power difference between the current him of the 5th stage saint rank and Venerable Ugwe, leaving them with little chance of victory in a direct confrontation. The only viable option seemed to be to escape, especially considering the dire consequences. "I already have the mark to travel inside. But we need this turtle to open the sacred passage first. And don't you remember, I'll die if I don't go in now," replied Khan as he was racing his mind to find other options to get out of their current predicament. Vildred too understood the gravity of the situation. Khan's life was at stake, and they needed Venerable Ugwe to open the sacred passage. And due to the contract of familiarity which bound both of their lives together, Vildred would also die if Khan failed to enter this sacred site where the Conclave of Heroes was to be conducted. Running away might buy them some time, but it wouldn't solve their ultimate dilemma. Despite this revelation, the venerable monk had not disclosed this information to anyone, including the Empress. "Why hasn't he revealed my true identity? Does he have a hidden motive?" wondered Khan. More than a minute had passed, but Venerable Ugwe acted as if there was nothing surprising or worth mentioning to the Empress. The situation was precarious, leaving Khan and Vildred unsure of how to proceed. They had to weigh their options carefully, considering both their immediate survival and the long-term implications of Venerable Ugwe's actions from this point. However, instead of paying attention to Khan/Atrus, Venerable Ugwe approached Maximus. He could sense the conflict within the young man. Apart from Khan, no one else knew what was going on with Maximus. With a gentle touch, he placed his tortoise palm on Maximus's head, emanating a sense of serenity and understanding. "I know you are in turmoil. I know you question the very reason for your existence in this world," spoke the Venerable in a soothing tone. I do not know what my purpose is anymore," spoke Maximus with a conflicted countenance. "Your mind is like this water, my child. When it is agitated, it becomes difficult to see. But if you allow it to settle, the answer becomes clear," advised the strongest saint of the Nader Empire. His words carried a pearl of profound wisdom, likening Maximus's restless thoughts to the ripples in agitated water. Venerable Ugwe was encouraging him to find both tranquility and resolve within himself, to let his thoughts settle so that he could gain clarity about his path and purpose. I have lived more than 400 years, and among the many lessons life has taught me, one of them fits perfectly in your situation. So I will depart the wisdom of this old monk, spoke Venerable Ugwe with an erudite countenance. If you only do what you can do, you will never be more than you are now. Right then, Maximus' eyes wide opened in shock as a wave of enlightenment washed over him. He felt as if some of the chains that trapped him in his previous world and in Vantria had just shattered, helping him break past his reckoning. This simple yet profound statement held a significant message. Others may not be able to make sense of it, but to Maximus, it seemed like the answer he was looking for. After speaking with all the other members of the hero's party, Venerable Ugwe finally spoke with calm in front of everyone's eyes. Do not worry, child. I have no intention to reveal your identity. At first I was skeptical, but now that I have seen you and the people associated with you, I have become certain of one thing, spoke the monk with a gentle smile, that you are one of the people who have a key part to play in the fate of this world. He declared. Khan was simply dumbfounded and bewildered at the same time. Use your skills for good, young warrior. Find the one thing you were denied so long ago, compassion. The venerable monk's words echoed in the surroundings. Again, Khan could not help but be frozen on the spot. Although it was good news that the monk in front of him, who resembled a particular tortoise of the same name in an animated movie, had chosen not to reveal his identity to the Empress, the words he spoke openly had left Khan asunder. Gasp! Wait! Does he also know about my past life? Gasped Khan and asked himself. Those words of wisdom would not seem plausible if someone knew Khan's miserable and lonely life as Elric. Yet the words spoken by Venerable Ugwe struck the right point, as if he had seen through both of his lives. He had done his best to bury the memories of his previous life, to forget the pain and loneliness he had endured as Elric. But now it seemed that those memories were being brought to the surface once again. Khan's mind raced with confusion and curiosity. How could the venerable monk know about his past life as Elric? It was a secret that he had kept hidden from everyone, even his closest companions. Yet, the words spoken by Venerable Ugwe seemed to resonate with the truth of his existence. People like you who have great power and responsibilities, you are not the type of person who needs to find his purpose. Rather, your purpose will come and find you. He declared in front of everyone. He placed his palm on the blue wolfkin's chest, and his green aura suddenly broke the previously placed mark on his body without anyone noticing. This is the only help I can give you, child. No one from the Beast Empire shall be able to track you after your part in this conclave of heroes is finished. But you must make a choice when the time comes. He spoke telepathically. Khan did not understand what the venerable monk implied with those words, but he knew that hard times were ahead, and his participance in the conclave of heroes was not going to be without any extraordinary turn of events. One often meets his destiny on the road he takes to avoid it, said Venerable Ugwe. This impacted Khan's mind again, because so far, he had been actively avoiding his part as Hero of Darkness and even hiding his identity so far in this new life. Yet somehow, fate had brought him to this very place using one reason or another. Just remember this. You being present here, spoke the sage of divination as he imparted his final words of wisdom to Khan. There are no accidents.